slot at the bottom with Stephon Johnson. Quarterback keeper up the middle.
Run.
For 2.
There it is.
Donovan Smith. Houston celebrates.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
2nd down and 5. Alabama can get a first down at the 6-yard line. And it's Jalen Milroe. Pump fakes. Jalen Milroe. Touchdown, Alabama. Again. 4 for number 4.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Will Howard backs up into the shotgun. Empty backfield. Howard looking. Howard scrambles. Howard lets it go. Incomplete. And Texas survives.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
We got a big stage for Kansas with the ball up by 3, and Jason Bean wants to throw. Deep shot. Arnold! He is gone! Oh my goodness.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
8:40 to go. Second quarter. An 11-point lead, and that might grow. Jeremiah Trotter. Touchdown, Clemson.
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
On 4th down, Gabriel on the run, throwing. Stoops, juggled it, caught it, but he's short. Oklahoma State's going to take over on downs, and a minute away from winning the final bedlam.
Now here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
All right, here we go on this wet, dreary Thursday afternoon. There's some good news for some fans of college football teams, and there's some that we don't know yet enough about, but we will get into that here shortly and momentarily. Craig is out today. He'll be back on Monday. We have a high school game that we'll do tomorrow night. High school football playoffs in the state of Texas begin tonight and throughout the rest of the weekend. Paul Catalina, I'm David Smoak. The chat room already started up, and Texas with the news that you kind of expected, and it's official. Quinn Ewers is back and cleared to play. He will play against TCU coming up on Saturday. Not only that, Steve Sarkisian saying that he has been pretty much effort-free or any kind of issue, not even any signs of rust. His throws are in comfortable fashion, and Quinn Ewers will start against TCU on Saturday.
He does need to, I'm sure Texas would love this, if he's back next year or whatever, make it through a whole season without getting hurt. That'd be great, but it is impressive that he got back in 2 weeks, that he's good. And, you know, that they I don't think they necessarily need him against TCU. Malik Murphy's played good enough, but they got a little fast and loose at the end of the game. I think you'd rather have the guy with more experience.
Yep.
Because the one thing that and we had a couple of people make this same point this week on the show that Kansas State did not make Malik Murphy do did not make Malik Murphy have to make a big play in a crunch time situation.
And that's why, in my opinion, and even though when you're on the road, you usually go for the kill if you get a 2-point conversion attempt like Dana did against Baylor, or in the case of what he did, the 4th down feeling, I just thought it was so far away at like 3 or 4 yard line. I think you extend the game because that means you have a team and offense that has come from down 27-7. Yes, some help by Texas with the mistakes and turnovers, but I think you extend the game because your quarterback is red hot and you're waiting for the younger guy to make the mistake again.
Yeah,
so
I like that was the factor that made it different. And so they didn't push the issue when they had the shot. And if I'm Texas, I don't want to give TCU, Iowa State, or Tech that same opportunity if I don't have to, because look, if Quinn Ewers is healthy, you got to play him. Plus, you want him in rhythm. Right now, it's them and Oklahoma State in the championship game.
Right.
You want him
throwing
darts in the next month.
There's 3 games left. In a month, you're playing. This weekend, you're playing in a month from now. Also, Catalina and Crawford are back, defensive backs. Crawford played high school ball, by the way, at what is now Tyler High School, John Tyler. They're available against TCU. The full allotment of the roster, according to Sarkisian today, is available. Christian Jones and Kelvin Banks, who missed some time against Kansas State, they're available. So they are full throttle, it appears, against TCU. I spoke with Brian Estridge, voice of TCU, earlier today. That will be a part of tomorrow's show between 3 and 6.
I do think it bears, it's good, especially if it happens to some, and at least in modern school history, before the history buffs of pre-World War II football jump my backside here, I'm talking about, like, in modern history, by far TCU's best season ever. Like, there's not another one that compares at all, given especially the modern context of college football. So as much as I love Doak Walker, like, we're not talking about him. Well, he's SMU.
It was Davey O'Brien.
Davey O'Brien. Sorry. I caught it.
You're going to take shots at old men like me and old people and older generations, even older than me.
Like, sometimes when you say, like, the greatest season in their history, they'll be like, what about 1926? You're like, oh, please. Eat a bag of you-know-what. Like, it's it's so different.
Yep.
But they had the best season, and then here they are staring bowl elimination in the face.
Yes, they are.
They've got to win 2 of their next 3. They'll likely win one of them. Next week against Baylor, they'll be favored in that one, but the 2 surrounding it are not gimmies. And
no,
so,
they
mean,
are.
like, and they're going to not be favored against Texas. Yeah, they are going to be looking at what? So they'd be 4 and 6 this week and have to go 2-0 on the way out if they lose to Texas. So it's really strange that would happen. Usually, there's not so much of a precipitous drop. You know, like even if you compare to Clemson and how they're not who they used to be. It was a 3-year thing of like, well, okay, they lost a couple here. They lost a lot of offensive linemen. Oh, they lost another one here. They still won the conference. They still made it to and then, like, you just saw it this year where all the things that they were kind of holding together, Dabo's got to go back to the drawing board. I don't know if Sonny has to go completely back to the drawing board, but he does have to look at how do you go from the mountaintop to at least the mountain middle in a year, because Baylor, like Dave Aranda's doing that right now, going, how is this going on and how did it happen so fast? Usually you have a buffer zone.
Yeah. No,
you have some time where
Yep. But yeah, and also the Big 12 has a history. Well, maybe not, because Oklahoma really won a bunch of them. But they have a history of teams who then fly up to the top, but the following year struggle because they're not as consistent. But still they have the opportunities. Oklahoma State's been really consistent over the years under Gundy. Baylor, of course, had the team in 19 that played for the title and lost to Oklahoma. And then the next year they had 2-7. Matt Rule, of course, moved on. And then Baylor went 12-2. And then we know what happened last year at 6-7. Now, when I first saw this tweet, I'm like, whoa, Lance Leipold. This is from Michael Swain, covers Kansas. Read this and then tell me initially what you think. Lance Leipold addresses rumors about his future at Kansas during the Hawk Talk interview. This is the only interview. That's the way it's going to be. Said that Kansas is the last job he's going to have. When I first read that, I thought, this is the only interview, as if I went and interviewed with them. No, he did not. He shot that down during the radio show, his weekly radio show, and he's saying that this is the last job he's going to have.
Yeah, because I think the question was, did you interview for the job at Michigan State? And he's like, no, this is the only interview on the radio show that I'm going to do this week. So, no, there's no interview. You say that until somebody money whipped you, and like there's questions about them getting Lance Leipold's contract done. I know Kansas fans do not want him to leave. Look, this is a guy that was at Wisconsin Whitewater, his alma mater, forever, right? And then he went to Buffalo because it was time for him to take that step up. And you do, like, part of the reason you do that for yourself. Like, Wisconsin Whitewater, you're a great D3 team, but when you have the chance to start making real money, you need to start making real money. You need to do that. You need to prove it. And Lance, he's now at Kansas. I don't think he's someone who – there are coaches who are climbers, and there are coaches who will take other jobs. And I don't think – he says he wants to be the last job. If he changes his mind, if there's another one that comes around that he wants. But I'll also tell you this. if I'm Lance Leipold and I like what I have going on at Kansas, based on the decisions that Michigan State makes as a university administratively, that's not the one I'm leaving for, money or no. Like, I need to, like, I don't need to be the guy who, like, I don't want to be the guy who fixes all of Michigan State's problems.
Right.
Because they're not just the football coach. They are from the top down in how they run things. I want somebody else to do that before I would go there. I know they'll pay well, and I know that there'll be an opening at Michigan State at some point again in the future, unless they hire their Bobby Bowden, and then he and I are the same age and we retire at the same time. So if I really wanted to go there, I'd just let the other guy fix it, and I'd wait for a better situation if I'm Lance Leipold and genuinely had eyes somewhere else outside of Kansas, because top down to that university, they do not run things well.
You know what, though? They appear to maybe have lots and lots of money available, depending on what happens, of course, with the Mel
But
Tucker.
so does everybody else.
Yeah.
So if I can pick, if I'm Lance Leipold and I've got options, and I'm going to get, like, if you're going to pay me $8 million or $9 million at Michigan State, and then somebody could come around next year that does not have a disastrous reputation in the way they handle things, I could wait a year and make the same money and not have to worry about their nonsense.
All right, so Mike Bean, Kansas fan, but also a very good point. He's 58. Would he really jump into that hot soup of Michigan State? So there's that from Mike Bean. Mike, thank you.
If I'm Lance Leipold, the move I'm going to make after Kansas also would be a place where that has probably already won big in college football consistently. Michigan State's a good program historically. They're not a great program. They've had their runs, but if I'm going to leave Kansas, a program that is mine, again, like it's his program. I'm Lance Leipold.
He is the Kansas. He can end up being the Bill Snyder for Kansas football.
Yeah, it's mine.
Yeah.
Like, this is my program. If I'm going to leave my program, it better be for somewhere like Florida or, someone that's won before. Like, somewhere that I know for sure that if I do my thing here, they're going to win because my thing works, as opposed to proving you can build at Kansas. And again, Kansas is his. They have a very unique situation. They have a basketball coach that they're probably going to try to clone so that he never goes away.
Yep.
And then they have a football coach who has made the program his and is beloved. So, yeah, I sometimes the grass isn't always greener. And, yes, $9 million and living in East Lansing, Michigan might be great, but if he can get $7 million and stay at KU, I mean,
yeah, no, you. All right, and then every week there's the Iowa story. Iowa, which is, if you look at the standings, they're going to probably end up winning the West, it appears. But their game with Rutgers, the over-under is now 28. Majority of the bets are on the under at multiple sports books. This according to David Purdom. The over-under is 28 between Iowa and Rutgers. And Iowa, you can make fun of their offense. Of course, Ferentz is out at the end of the year, all of that. But you know what they do? They find a way. They're, 7-2 or whatever it might be. And the over-under with them has become kind of a weekly story.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's interesting is, can it get lower than 28? Like, could Vegas really put that number at lower than
last week against Northwestern, the lowest ever?
I think this one's lower than that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think last week was 28.5, and this is 28.
All right.
So maybe last week might have been 27.5. Maybe, but
Rutgers has scored about, they're in the mid-20s per game.
I said this before, if every coach in the Big Ten West, every offensive coordinator, had the same deal as Brian Ferentz, they'd all be fired.
No, they would.
Every single one of them. That's not conjecture. That is an absolute fact. They're all not going to score 325 points. The reason that I was trying to be forward thinking on this probably wouldn't be as big of a deal if what is happening to the Big Ten next year wasn't happening. If you were going to just get to continue to play the Big Ten West, right, and then you can make minor tweaks along the way to be like, okay, well, we are eventually going to have to beat Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State, like when it comes down to championship time. But if everything stayed status quo, you can stay in there and you can just kind of go, all right, go. But when Penn State beats you 31-0, when you play those teams that have that, And then you've got Oregon and USC and Washington and UCLA coming into the league next season, and you don't have a Big Ten West anymore, then you can't rely on that. You have to adapt to what's going on, and all the coaches in the Big Ten West are going to have to adapt to that. Matt Rule, we asked him about it when he was here, and he said you kind of have to find a nice medium. He said, because look, there is going to be, you have to run an offense that you can run every month of the year during the football season in Lincoln, Nebraska, but you also have an offense that you can compete with these guys who, when you go out to their place in November and it's warm and they're going to score 25 points before you turn around, you have to score 26 and even more.
I do get that. We're going to look at the schedule for this week in college football. I put up a note in the chat room. I said, hey, what's the one topic, just in case there's something out there that you would like to discuss? And, oh, by the way, Michigan did get back with the Big Ten on their deal. And now you wait, and I still think I'm going to make the prediction. If I'm wrong, I don't care either way. But what's going to happen, there's probably going to end up being some kind of fine. And no matter what the fine is, Michigan will probably, or Harbaugh, will probably then take it to court. I don't see any way that they're going to make anything other than that. That's about the last thing we'll say about it. MC Gusto was kind of like almost calling us out for that topic. But go look at what all the national writers are discussing, and it's worth at least discussing, but I don't want to bring it up again today.
No, and this is all I'll say about it for the rest of the show, especially since you don't want to talk about it, although I do have a top 5 on it later. But
no,
I do. Nobody's going to tell me what to talk about.
Yeah, no, are you going to, is it a Sopranos driven?
No, I can't do that.
Because we don't need to go there.
No, but I do think the conversation needs to move on what needs to happen to Jim Harbaugh, because that's going to happen. Like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But the Big Ten was right about one thing. Or the Big Ten. Michigan was right about one thing to the Big Ten. This is unprecedented. There's nothing in the book. You can't go to a rule and say, this is what it is. So, basically, the solution to this, and we'll see if they do it, is, well, maybe there's nothing you can do about any of this because it's already happened. So let's not be Major League Baseball and retroactively go like, oh, Sarah's were bad. We had no idea. Just accept what happened, admit your failings, and make a rule that defines all this stuff.
Isn't that how the court of law is really written? Based on previous judgments, et cetera?
Yeah, so they're eventually get there, but Tony Petitti right now, based on the powers that he has as commissioner, even under the sportsmanship thing, is very broad. And so if he wants to just punish them and think that that's going to go away, here's the other deal. What they want the punishment to be is for now, because the coaches know that Connor Stallions and his group of people have been there now. But what the reality is that it's November 9th. So if on November 9th or 10th, they try to do anything to Michigan and Michigan throws this into court, unless the court that they accidentally filed this in is in Columbus, Ohio, it's not going to get done in 3 weeks.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And you went over my timeline on it.
Yeah.
No, but it's still there no matter what. And what's so funny is the cat fights that are going on between various fan bases. Now, here are the games in the top 25 this week. We never did this earlier. In fact, two of you in the chat room mentioned that this is tonight. Okay, the bangers among two teams, both ranked in the top 25. There could be bangers, but this is our definition of bangers. You have Michigan playing at Penn State. You have Michigan, number 2, number 9, Penn State at Happy Valley. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And then Utah coming off a shattered Arizona State at Washington, who's been kind of playing with their food a little bit. That game is at 2:30, as is a really intriguing game in the East in the SEC with Missouri playing right straight up with Georgia. They turn around. Do they have it? And this is when you find out how good you are. One, you can play head-to-head with Georgia, lose. Do you then turn around and still have that same momentum? And I think they do, but Tennessee is good too at 2:30. And then you have Ole Miss going to Georgia. That game is a night game on ESPN.
Yeah, we're picking all these games at 5 o'clock today.
At 5 o'clock, we're going to pick them. And now, here's a game tonight, by the way. Thursday night game, you have Virginia in the ACC against Louisville. Louisville's still in that conversation, obviously, not only to play for the ACC championship, but also they're getting votes, at least some odds when it comes to the college football playoff, although very, very long odds. We'll get to the rest of the top 25 of non-bangers in just a second.
Let me double check here. Louisville has to, I mean, if they win tonight, I do think that they're in the ACC title game, even though they have to go to Miami next week. I think that because of who they've beaten, I don't know, maybe if they lost to Miami and North Carolina continue to win, that could be kind of a.
Well, let's let them get through tonight first.
But yeah, but if they win tonight, I think it's pretty much
who was
all
it
over
that Virginia
the
beat recently? Was it North Carolina?
Yeah, they beat North Carolina.
All right, here are the other games in the top 25, and obviously Alabama has been finding a way to win after the loss earlier to Texas. They play at Kentucky, who's kind of calmed down. Still, I mean, that's a game that if you get on the wrong side of it, Kentucky pounds the football. Now you have Tulsa at 20th ranked Tulane. Tulane right now, aren't they the one at least, and others can be a part of this, control the destiny of the top-ranked G5 team, especially with Air Force going down. Old Dominion at Liberty. James Madison, unbeaten against UConn. Arizona, they have just come basically out of nowhere to play at Colorado. That's another tough one for Dion and company, and that could be put them at 6 losses if they don't win. Things have changed dramatically there. Miami, this was for the longest of times. You have Texas OU, you have Alabama, Auburn, USC, UCLA. You have all these rivalry games. Michigan, Ohio State, what was a long time ago, Nebraska OU, Texas OU, A&M. This was, for about a decade plus, the best and most important game in college football almost annually, because the winner of that game was probably going to play for the national title, or at least have the tiebreaker to play for the national title. Still has implications, but that was you could not miss that game, and Miami dominated it for the longest of time. I'm not bringing that up because of you, but they did, and it kept Bobby Bowden probably away from 3 or 4 national titles or more.
At least 3.
Yep.
I mean, well, one of them didn't matter. The BCS computer math worked out for them, but yeah, for 2 of them for sure, and maybe another that I'm not even thinking of. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Florida State beat Miami really badly in Miami last year, and they have played better week over week this year than Miami. Obviously, they're a deeper team. They're further along in the rebuild. All these things you want to say. This is a better version of the Miami team than last year, although Tyler Van Dyke's not been playing well. I think that Mario Cristobal, whatever coaching juice he's got, is going all out this week. And Florida State has a tendency to kind of, start slow. And I don't know and this game gets really physical. It's going to be interesting. They certainly have the ability to do again what they did last year. I just don't think that that's going to happen. I think that Miami is going to be close. I think it's going to be a good game.
We'll have that. Is that one of the games? We'll discuss that in depth. I knew that though, for a decade plus, was that you had to watch that game. Stanford and Oregon State. Oregon State's just kind of hanging around. There they are. They're really tough, and that's a game at home. Michigan State at Ohio State. That probably is very one-sided. Florida at LSU. Will Daniels play?
Does he need to? I don't know.
Garrett, what have you heard about your boy?
Yeah, he's supposed to play. He should be back this week.
I mean, that was that Dallas Turner hit. He kind of affected, even though Alabama at the time led the game, you wondered about whether or not Daniels, who I love watching him play, he is fun to watch, man. And I go back to even that opener against Florida State when I thought he was the best quarterback on the field until about, midway through the third quarter, and then this other kid, what's his name, Jordan Travis, started doing his thing.
Yeah. When Jaden Daniels can run and get loose, it just changes everything about how your game is going.
Who would you rather have? And I'm not saying this because I know, and I think I know where everyone's going to lean immediately. Jaden Daniels or Jalen Daniels?
I'm going to say Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, Jaden.
It's close, though. Jaden's a little more durable.
I'm going to tell you this. I'll admit this. There's a couple of times, like during the early part of the year, or even I was like, okay, who plays for who?
Yeah.
Because both of them are very similar with the dual threat ability. Both of them can obviously run.
If you gave me any of the Jadens or the Jalen, I would not be mad.
No, I mean, damn, you got Jaden, I get Jalen,
Hey,
I'm fine.
yeah.
Of course, he's got to be
If
healthy.
you even throw in Jalen Milroe in this,
Yeah.
I'm a believer now.
Yep.
If you can make it where you got an athlete like that, that's kind of the old. I love how that's all worked with Alabama. I think the funniest thing is if this was a high school team, what would you do? Well, we would make this kid quarterback and just figure it out later on.
We'll figure it out.
That's what they did.
DUS 100, Daniels better play, or they will lose the other quarterback on LSU is garbage, or LSU is garbage.
I don't think so.
All right.
I don't
Allen
think
Train,
so.
Daniels
He
at
doesn't play that
Kansas.
much.
He'll take the KU Daniels, and then a few others are making their comments too. In fact, here's the other one. It's kind of overshadowed because USC's kind of faded a little bit, and of course losing again last week in a hell of a game against Washington. USC at sixth-ranked Oregon, who's been rolling through people ever since the loss to Washington, hanging around, waiting for maybe Washington or somebody else to perhaps, throw up. And so they're hanging out there with Bo Nix and the Ducks, Dan Hanning, and that could end up being, but Oregon is beating people and making them like it.
Yeah, that's probably going to be really bad.
And then you have Notre Dame. They people call it a bye week. A bye week is when you get a chance to advance to the next week by not playing, like in a tournament. But Notre Dame, has the off week. So there we are with that. We'll have our 5-game picks at 5 o'clock today. Our lineup today includes Sam Kahn at 4 from theathletic.com, Roger Wallace on Texas with all the news today with Ewers and the others that are all cleared. He'll join us today at 4:45. Mickey on the Cowboys will join us around 5:25. Now, some of you were saying that, in fact, Paxton, USC, Oregon is sneaky good. I asked, what are some other topics that you would like to discuss today in college football in this first hour? We'll come back with a couple of those. Craig, again, is going to be back. He's out. He had dental work today. He'll be back on Monday. And in the studio is Owen, Garrett, Jack, and, of course, Emery and Levi are always in the middle of it. I'm David Smoak with Paul Catalina, and this is 365 Sports. I just mentioned that Craig had some dental work today. I've had a lot of it done in the last 3 years when I started to go see Dr. Steve Childress at Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas. I've had 2 implants. I've had a tooth pulled, 2 implants. I've had 3 crowns. I don't even think I've had a cavity. I've had probably 3 or 4 root canals. You know why? Because I was stupid when it comes to dental work. It doesn't mean that I didn't do the daily routine of you wake up, you brush your teeth before you go to bed. At least I hope some of you do. But I just too many sweets. And I'm not like a cake and sweets guy. Candy maybe on occasion. But I used to sit there and constantly have lozenges in my mouth. I did that, I thought, kind of would soothe my throat. But that also was not soothing my throat, but ruining my teeth, decay. And eventually, Dr. Steve Childress one day when he was looking at he's like, what are you doing? What are you putting in your mouth besides Diet Coke or whatever else? And I told him about the lozenges. That shut that down. Haven't had one since that day because he told me what they were doing to my teeth, and I was tired of having to get a root canal or having to get a tooth pulled. And so, listen, if you have bad dental habits, first of all, I'm sorry, but you have a chance to make a comeback like I have with his work at Stonewood Dental. I have a crown that I'm going to put back in on the 21st. I got a temporary in my top left molar. I want to make sure I have this smile for as long as I can after ruining it for some bad habits. Don't be that way. And if you have been, contact Steve Childress, Dr. Steve Childress in Stonewood Dental.
Don't miss out on the biggest deals of the year during the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Experience the adventure, style, and comfort of the new 2023 Jeep lineup. Shop our great selections in-store or online today and start your Jeep adventure.
Pioneer Steel and Pipe opened their doors in 1943, and they have never wavered with their focus on great product and customer service, relationships with a handshake, making sure you, the customer, is satisfied. Their new facility is now twice the size, allowing new inventory, higher quantities, and in a much more organized fashion. In addition to the long lengths in tubing, angles, channels, rods, and flat, Pioneer Steel and Pipe now offers several shorter, more convenient lengths of material already cut. Their 2,500 square foot showroom has over 1,000 new products in stock, new welding supplies, hardware, quickcrete, and do-it-yourself components for any project, whether you are a professional contractor or weekend warrior. The new facility is designed to make your loading experience faster and more efficient with easy drive lanes around the building and much more room to get your trailer loaded. Our location may have changed, but our values haven't, and our relationship with customers goes much farther than just business. Pioneer Steel and Pipe on Loop 340 and Highway 6 and just east of I-35 in Waco.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Looking to connect with Baylor alums in your area? Baylor alumni can help. Looking to host a watch party in your city? Baylor alumni can get you started. Want to step out in your community and serve with other alums? Baylor alumni is your connection with the university and each other. Let's get started. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Well, I have been corrected on bye week. I disagree with it. I'm going to go to thesaurus. I may end up going to even the Webster's Dictionary. Let me see. No, this is giving me the word bye. Bill Dingspeed. FYI. Per the Cambridge Dictionary, bye week noun. In sports, especially football, a week during the playing season in which a team does not play a game.
Well, that's Cambridge. It's in England and all. So.
Well, see, they don't understand American football. They're thinking soccer. All right, I'm gonna find out. I'm just gonna type into Google bye week definition because I had a coach tell me that one time. A bye week, that's Cambridge again. Yeah, they're pretty smart people, aren't they? Okay, here we go. What does bye mean in football? Week for each team is called a bye, a.k.a. pass. In many sports, bye or bye week means a team is scheduled a week of rest during the season. American football, every team receives a bye week. But a bye means to me, it's an off week.
Look, we live in a world now where you can make things mean whatever you want them to mean. So if it means that to you, then you own that, Smokey.
Garrett, when a high school football team is in a district, in another district or basketball in a tournament, and they don't have to play a first-round opponent, but they're going to play the next week no matter what against somebody else, what do they call that?
I always thought it was a bye week.
There's a bye week.
Okay,
it means you're moving on.
Let me simplify this for you, Smokey, because here's where you're wrong. What are they not doing that week?
They're not playing.
Okay, what are they also not doing when they have a week off during the season?
They're not playing.
So why does there need to be two words for that?
Bye refers to a team automatically advancing to the... Okay, here we go. Webster's is always better than Cambridge. In sports, a bye week refers to a team automatically advancing to the next round of a tournament play without competing, and a bye week refers to a scheduled off week for a given team in a tournament play.
Okay. But again, there doesn't really need to be two words for that. They're both not playing.
Meaning a bye is a participant in a tournament who advances to the next round without playing. But Bill Dingspeed, Cambridge has their definition. We need to have a dictionary shootout.
Here's what I'll tell you. In both instances, a team is not playing a game.
Oh, Bill's saying, Smokey, here's the difference. A bye without using or referring to the word bye week is what you are referring to.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Bill.
Paul, you're just confusing
Sam
us.
Con doing it, so. Teams have, Sam Con says open date or idle week, so there we go. I will die on this hill. We get to talk to him in a second.
What?
No, he's with you. He's with you.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Sam. And that's why I scheduled him, knowing he would.
I'm fine with it either way. I'm just saying that sometimes there don't need to be two words for things.
Sam Con.
Look, I'm an English lit guy. There's plenty of words, but sometimes, yeah.
No, I know. I never was an English lit anything. All right, so there we are with that. So maybe you could take it for what you want. People have different words. Sir blah, 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 your coach lied to you. Paxton, off week is old school. Wow. Well, that's what I'm thinking as well. Okay. The Big 12 schedule, Garrett, thank you. This is the Big 12 schedule this week. Those are the times on the right. Which team, if they don't, now, there are teams who are out of it. Baylor's out of it, UCF, obviously Cincinnati's out of it, BYU is out of it, Houston is out of it. There are teams out of the race to play for the Big 12 title. Which of the teams who are still alive, not just mathematically, but have a chance because of also who they've beaten, cannot lose this week?
Well, Kansas can't. Kansas State can't. Not that they should be able to
Oklahoma State can lose and still be okay.
Oklahoma can't.
I don't think Oklahoma can. They can't survive another loss.
Yeah,
and one of the other things with them, even with the game against Texas, Kansas is kind of in that mix. So you lose that tiebreaker.
And
Oklahoma State,
and Texas being at one loss, right now means pretty much everybody who's in contention can't, because you can't rely on them to lose. Like you just can't. Like Kansas State can't, Oklahoma can't, they can't do it. Kansas can't do it. You gotta.
Do you think we'll see it? Do you think that there's a chance that a team with 3 losses, there's 3 games left, right? So Oklahoma State and Texas, to get to 3 losses would mean that they would have to melt down.
Yeah.
Can a team with 3 losses, do you think, play for the Big 12 title this year?
Oh, Barry Crawford makes a good point. If OSU loses and ISU wins out, OSU is out. He was talking about this week, Barry. But yeah. If you want to be Mr. Well, actually, then go ahead. I'm just saying that.
I'm talking about this week, not the next 3 weeks. Yeah. I'm talking about this week.
No, you cannot. It's going to take a lot. Everybody else is going to need help. So, Oklahoma State's got the 1 loss to Iowa State, which gives Iowa State a nice little trump card on them. Again, they can get over them, but if you would, if you cannot rely on them to lose out. You have to assume everything's going to go the worst way, in my opinion. So you got to win.
They have Texas has TCU and Iowa State on the road, and then they have Texas Tech at home, and that's got some emotions to it. Okay, if I was to say you have to put $1,000 down, I don't gamble, but I'm asking you this question: if you had to put $1,000 down, would you put your money, not my money, not our money, your money, would you put $1,000 down guaranteeing that who is going to play for the Big 12 title? Who are the teams you would put that $1,000 down?
It would be Texas and Oklahoma State. Texas has a harder game next week at Iowa State. That's going to be tough. No doubt. That's going to be tough. Ames is going to be a tough place to play. That's, it's going to be hard. But Oklahoma State's schedule on the way out gives me no reason to believe that they're going to lose any of those games.
Yeah, they kind of – well, remember at the start of the year, I think Craig brought this up, that Oklahoma and Oklahoma State's schedules seemed to be pretty favorable. Mm-hmm. And when Oklahoma had the ball, stopped Kansas, 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter on their side on the Kansas side of the field, and did not put the nail in the coffin, man, you win that game, they're okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they are, and then Kansas is done. But, man, that was resilient for KU and Jason Bean to be able to do what they did.
Yeah, I just don't see any way. Like, Iowa State versus Texas is going to be interesting next week in that I know Matt Campbell will have their dander up for sure. But Oklahoma State's schedule on the way out, like, just look at this week alone. UCF versus Ollie Gordon is not a winner. Like, that's not
one. They don't know how to stop the run. Yeah.
They're not stopping the run. Like, this is one of the ones where they looked at, I'm sure before the season, okay, well, Oklahoma State's probably going to be in the middle. You see that might be an original team that we can get, and then you see how you stop the run, and you see that Ollie Gordon is around and breathing air on planet Earth, and you're like, well, all right.
There's so many little, like, this team beat, like, for example, Iowa State beat Oklahoma State. But then again, lost to Kansas. Kansas beat OU, but then there's a lot. This could get into some interesting, not going to be as bizarre, wild, and maybe nationally relevant as the 2014 Baylor TCU tiebreaker, whatever that eventually was. But it sure is interesting. Now, somebody brought this up in the chat room, and I had this as a list of one of the topics. I already don't like the schedules. I love the fact that the teams who have joined the Big 12, I understand realignment. I understand all of what's happened when it comes to college football. But you know what I miss? Knowing that everybody was going to play everybody and that it all work itself out. Yeah, I miss that. I'm not dying on that hill, but I do miss knowing that everybody was going to play everybody, and it would all take care of itself, except with an exception about once every 10 years.
Yeah, I don't like. I'm fine with the way they schedule it so that it's not like the SEC had been where teams just don't play each other. The A&M's in the conference for a decade before they even had to think about traveling to Georgia. I mean, like no one ever had to. So I like the way they're doing it. It's just the way it's going to have to be. I think the one thing that there's all this cool stuff that's going to happen with the realignment, and one of the bad things is, like, look, the conferences are huge. Yeah. They're just so huge.
Can you really have can you really have conference champions? Can you even really feel like the two teams that play when you have 16 teams in the conference based on their record, I guess? Yes.
I think most of the time, yes. But what and most of the time in the 12-team playoff, you're probably going to feel good about the 12 teams that are in there. There might be a couple you're like, well, darn it, they were right there.
Well, that's like the 68 in men's basketball.
But, yeah, there's going to be that. Most of the time it's going to feel good. But the new thing that's going to replace, the griping about the 14 playoff or the BCS or whatever is that there's going to be years for every conference more often than there were before, where now, because you've got 16 teams or 18 teams or whatever you have, that, there's probably going to be 5 teams that are good enough to be conference champions, and because you have to go to some arbitrary tiebreakers because there's no way that they would have all played each other and all that in that year. So you're going to have more of those that'll pop up, but I think that, to me, is one, like, nothing can be perfect. So if that's the only pimple that you have on your thing, then okay, but
if it wasn't for the money, cancel the conference championship games. They're not going to do that. I'm just saying, cancel the conference championship games. Whoever has the best record at the end of the year, you could have co-champions or tri-champions. I know that not everybody wins a ribbon. Cancel that, and then you pick your top 12 teams to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, and the problem with that is now you're going to, then the teams in the conferences will schedule to make sure that, we're not going to intersect the good games too much.
Some teams, every year games are tougher. Their games are tougher than perhaps some others.
But the scheduling,
more difficult.
If you said we're just going to take the top 12 teams and get rid of the conference championship game, now the conference championship game actually has kind of a gatekeeper thing in that you kind of have it to help determine who these.
It's another data point.
It's a data point you're going to need.
It can help you, it can hurt you, or it can help both.
Yeah, but if you've told the SEC that, look, the top teams with the best records are going to be the ones we take in the playoff, how many really great SEC games do you trust on seeing in their schedule?
No, I think tradition would still. Yeah.
I mean, tradition, but you would see, Oh, look, does Georgia have
Kentucky.
Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and Mizzou this year all back to back? Like,
hey, Mizzou,
I didn't say
rest on
Mizzou, but I'm just talking historically. Yeah.
Bill Dingspeed, Laugh Out Loud, you guys crack me up. I love it. I wasn't busting your chops, Smokey. I always give you a buy when it comes to semantics. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. I'm glad you did tell me about the definition at Cambridge, a dictionary that I probably never picked up. Let's see here. From Barry, if games go sideways, and there will be a game each of the next 3 weekends that goes sideways, there will be, there's still 7 teams that technically could have a chance to play for the Big 12 title. I love that. I love it. Because remember when OU came back, well, they're going to meet again. Really? We now know that? They could, but are they? We don't know that. We don't. Weather in Ames is always a factor. Of course, that's true. They, of course, play Texas, not this week, but next week at home. So we'll see what happens with that. Someone goes, well, I want Bedlam too. If you're Oklahoma State, you don't want I'm not saying that you don't want Bedlam too because you're not afraid of playing Oklahoma. I know that. I'm just saying you don't want Bedlam too because, man, isn't it pretty good right now that no matter 91-20 or whatever the number is, you won a game that had a lot of importance to it, and you could just walk away from that.
I think one of the best things about this for individual fan bases, now it's great as somebody who watches the whole conference. Yeah, I loved when teams played again in the Big 12 title game, and that's not necessarily going to happen this year. I guess it could, but I loved that, except if I was a fan of one of those two schools in there and I won the last time, I'd be like, I don't want to see them again. Look, Florida State, I'll just give you my own perspective, lucked out in that Clemson was as bad as they were and that Duke lost again because I wouldn't have wanted to play either one of them again. And right now it's looking like they're going to play Louisville, a team they haven't played yet, which I would much rather do than a team that you either barely got by or, or maybe you beat them kind of bad on a bad day for them and they don't have to wait until next year to take revenge on you.
Yeah, UT Parking, it's too soon to discuss the Big 12 title game. Just focus on this week, any given Saturday. That's a very good point because, God, we could be looking at this by Saturday night going, oh, my God, this thing has completely flipped its course. By the way, Baylor men's basketball, after the win on Tuesday night against Auburn, had a 96-70 win just around the corner from us against John Brown. Langston Love led the way with 20 points, and Ray J. Dennis had 16 points. Jaden Nunn, 15 points and 6 steals in that win. There's that freshman Missy, had 10 points for Baylor. Jacoby Walter didn't shoot the ball. He didn't have to much, but he didn't shoot the ball as well in this game. Now, what I want in the Big 12 championship game is a game that nobody has played yet.
Well, Texas and Oklahoma State would be that game.
That's exactly right. I want a game where nobody has already played each other. I want a game where if you won the first one, it mattered.
Kansas and anybody would be that, right? Because when they won, there wasn't a championship game.
What do you mean?
When they didn't win the Big 12, did they? The Orange Bowl year?
No, I think Kansas State may have won it that year.
Yeah.
And they were part of the BCS and all that, yeah.
So, no, but Texas and Oklahoma State would certainly be that.
I want to make sure I get that right before a Kansas fan just right. Yeah, Oklahoma beat Missouri in the championship game, but a great year. Todd Reesing, the quarterback, a great year for the Jayhawks. Let's see from Kyle Visser. Talk about a great season, winning the last Bedlam and then beating Texas on the way out. For Oklahoma State, that would be dream world.
That's what I would want because the last Bedlam and then look, here's the other thing. Bedlam at a neutral site isn't necessarily Bedlam, right? It is, but it's not. And that was what made the rivalry. So if I've got the last one and I can hold on to that, then I want that. And if I could also do the same exact thing to Texas, then I would want that too, especially because they don't play them in the regular season. Yeah, I think that if I'm an Oklahoma State fan, I want Texas. I want Texas. I don't want to give Oklahoma another shot at me. I don't want them to, I don't want the one guy that was healthy that would have made a difference in the game to play me again.
Yep.
I want a shot at Texas because especially if you're talking about the pride of the Big 12, then I want to make sure that, because none of the Texas none of the originals have got them. that are staying, or not the staying teams have got them. Oklahoma got them. That's it.
Yeah.
So their traveling partner got them.
Yeah, on the way out, if you're among the non-Oklahoma Texas, you would probably like to see somebody who's going to be a part of the
none of the leftovers got it.
UW fan Jim. And this is when I was talking about conference championships, and Paul made a really good point to shoot that down. Without the conference championship games, you would have unbeaten paper tigers in the playoffs. Win your conference or stay home, in my opinion. Good point.
Yeah, because you need that. Like, while there have been times where conference championships have just kind of gotten in the way of things, now with the playoff, it becomes a really important thing because they are going to help decide, if you're getting a home playoff game or not. If you're one of the top, 4 highest ranked or what, that get buys. Like that's how it's going to help determine that. So,
all right.
Yeah, you need them now. There were times where you didn't. The Big 12 kind of proved it for the time they didn't have one.
No, you're right.
You didn't really need one to show who your best team was every single year. But, and look, the SEC has had some that are, LSU and Georgia or LSU at the end.
The one year it sucked was when somebody beat Alabama. Was it LSU beat Alabama, then lost in the SEC championship game, and Alabama went on to play for the national title.
Yeah, beat LSU in the
national title.
Like those, there's those times.
It had an extra off week. Yeah.
There are the times where I think the Big 12, when they first got to get rid of the title game, was a little bit relieved because there was Oklahoma is lamenting the time that they rolled up and got thumped by Kansas State.
You had Texas beat Nebraska.
Yeah.
You then had A&M beat K-State. You had Colorado beat Texas one year. And a lot of those times, and Kansas State just ran all over Oklahoma among a couple of others.
Yeah.
Then you almost had an 2009 in Dominic Sue single-handedly knocked Texas out of the national championship picture in a Big 12 championship game.
Yeah. If it was not for some kind of dying quail pass.
No, I should have asked Colt McCoy this last week. When you let go of the pass.
Who do you are?
Yeah.
What gives you the right?
I want you to think about this. If he had let go of that pass being chased down by who?
And Dominic Sue.
Okay, had he just thrown the ball a foot higher, or maybe even a foot right or left of the railing, the game is over.
Yeah.
All right, Montana.
I know a lot of people that are not Texas fans would like to ask us when we get Colt McCoy on, who is genuinely
a fantastic human being,
the nicest person ever. But I remember I sent a text to my cousin, who's a big Aggie fan, and said, "Do you have anything for Colt McCoy today?" And he said, "Ask him, who do you think you are?"
I want to close it out with this. Paxton trying to get me involved in gambling. Baylor, you want Baylor plus 23? I would take that. Kansas State has a chance to make this look bad quickly.
Yeah.
Now, right now, Sam Conn around the corner be the first question I ask him. Who is the MVP? Not offense and defense. Who is the MVP with 3 weeks to go in the Big 12? Who is the player of the year in the Big 12 right now with 3 weeks left to play? Is it Ollie Gordon? Is it Jonathan Brooks? Is it who?
I think it's Ollie Gordon, my opinion.
I think
because look at Oklahoma State. That Ollie Gordon, Kansas State. Do you have somebody you could say is the player of the year?
No,
they've been through the quarterback changes.
I just think if you take Ollie Gordon out of the equation for Oklahoma State right now, if you had just said, "Okay, Ollie Gordon's out," or he doesn't turn into a superhero after the first 3 weeks. If it's just
they're 5-4, 4-5.
Yeah, they're just not he has changed the whole trajectory of the season because he become that much of a weapon.
Gordon, Ollie Gordon or Jonathan Brooks, Ollie. And I think Nick Martin, Ollie. Across the board.
I think Jonathan Brooks is a bad man. Don't get me wrong, but Texas has the depth to where if Jonathan Brooks was out for a month, they would probably be all right.
Yep.
If Ollie Gordon is out for a month, Oklahoma State is trying to say they're trying to change the rules.
Yeah, no, they are. Thanks for all the feedback. That was pretty emphatic. Some of you wanted to get into the coach at this point, but we'll get into that later on. A lot of times it's whoever wins the conference championship, but that may be somebody like is Lance Leipold in that mix? Is Gundy, Sark? who? That's still to be determined. I'm not trying to leave anybody out. Neil Brown? Think about that. If they were to make a run the last 3 weeks, too. Paxton Bean from Kansas, no, he's a major part of the story of the Big 12. From Jim R., no Ollie. There would be a rough offense for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I mean, he's that damn good.
Here's from Allen. Jonathan Brooks is damn good, but Ollie has carried Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I mean, like, Texas, look, I think Texas has shown you the last couple of weeks that they can withstand some injuries.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you didn't have their quarterback the last 2 weeks. They won the game.
If you're a Texas fan, I'm watching the game while we're watching also Baylor there is no way in hell that I think Kansas State was not going to punch it in immediately in a play or two when they got into overtime inside the whatever yard line it was. That's just who they are, and they just blanked the bed.
No, the Texas also did this. They went, whoa, in those last couple plays.
No, I'm talking on the first play. The first play was that very almost awkward. Was that the jump pass that almost got tipped and intercepted? Because Sweat, who weighs 300 and something pounds and runs like he's Jonathan Brooks, was all over the place. But that's what Kansas State was going to run the lead quarterback draw or something. Game over. It's over. But nope.
Texas I was very impressed with the way that they, especially the fourth down, when you want veteran players to make veteran plays. That was what they did, and they blew up the play so much that I had to go back and watch the replay several times to figure out what Kansas State wanted it to do. Like, I didn't know what was the exact play call.
I thought it was very awkward, but I mean, third and fourth down, Texas just beat them up. Yeah.
Fourth down, they just destroyed it. So, I mean, you eventually figured it out, but it looked so bad right off the jump. I was like, I don't know what they were trying to do.
No, I thought the jump pass was kind of like almost a panic move on the part of Will Howard, and even not sure if that was even what he was trying to do. When we come back, Sam Kahn, 357, this is 365 Sports. You have heard quite a bit about the first ever auction. TexasBeefHouse.com, the Duval Ranch, just outside of Tyler and White House. Samantha Duval joins us, handles the marketing and so much more. So what has been the reaction, the interest in the auction coming up on Saturday?
We've had a lot of interest on social media. We've had a lot of phone calls about people that are so excited, not only locally, but across the U.S. 1 o'clock on Saturday, we're auctioning off 33 different lots. They will be lots of steak, sausage, ground beef, whole primals, tenderloins, whole ribeyes, whole strip loins. Everything that's perfect for Christmas. We'll also have some tomahawks and cowboy ribs. So this is the perfect time to stock up and get a really good deal on some Angus and Wagyu beef.
And this is for anybody around the country because it's online, phone call, and also if you want to be in person. And you mentioned this from the beginning. If you're just someone who has a nice size deep freeze, it's great for you. You could put yourself, like you said, pack some stuff together for now or the holidays or even down the road. But restaurant owners, a great chance for them to compile some stuff and accumulate some great product too.
Yes, absolutely. It is not only just for the homeowner. It can be for a restaurant, a food truck, catering company. You can find out more information TexasBeefHouse.com/beef auction. That's going to give you our shipping disclaimer for shipping across the U.S. That's going to give you a PDF file that shows all the different lot numbers. Also includes the link to cci.live, and that's where you can bid live online.
She is Samantha Duval. She is the energy with TexasBeefHouse.com, along with other great people. You can go to TexasBeefHouse.com/beef auction to get the information you need for Saturday, 1 o'clock, just outside of Tyler at the Duval Ranch in White House.
The right call can make all the difference on and off the field. I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. When it's time for a new car, truck, or SUV, Bird Colgin Ford is the right call. Come check out our award-winning lineup of best-selling models in their class, like the Mustang, Explorer, Expedition, F-150, and Super Duty. Make the right call for your next vehicle at Bird Colgin Ford. Bird Colgin Ford proudly supports Baylor Athletics. Sic 'em Bears.
And
Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive is a premier, elite, life-changing experience where you can change your mind, body, and soul. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including boot camp, R, silver sneakers, and more. New bikes arrived and are waiting for you to test yourself, compete against yourself with a screen monitoring your speed, miles, resistance, and power, and with indoor cycling classes every day. New free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, new elliptical machines on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training with Christy London, Randall Corley, Alex Botch, and Nathan Roach, where you will be encouraged and motivated to grow. A kids club included with your membership, plus sauna, whirlpool, and a tanning bed. 16 tennis courts, beautiful stadium court, and longtime youth tennis pro Britt Coleman, assistant junior pro Kennup, adult tennis lessons and clinics with Blake, and commitment to pickleball with 8 courts and instructor Jody Thurman. Visit the website, wacotennis.com, or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Sam Kahn defended me earlier in the show. Thank you to Sam Kahn on the word bye week or the term bye week. Sam, thank you very much. So you think bye week is what I think bye week is, right?
Yeah, it is when you get to advance in a tournament without playing. And this is a hill that I'm willing to die on. I was always taught in journalism school at AP style, you either call it an open date or idle. That's when you're off. That's when you're not playing on a regular season week. And I also have used off week, which is just pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
I have done everything I can not to use bye week in print when it's not a team advancing in a tournament.
Yeah,
you know who I blame?
Yeah.
The NFL.
No, you blame the
NFL. Like the NFL just regularly throws out the bye week. Like, I
forgot about
the
idle.
Jets bye week is week 10.
There used to be like Notre Dame, idle. And that I haven't heard that used, Sam, in a long, long time. So thank you for clarifying it from your point of view. Also, now I asked the question, and Paul and I were discussing this with our audience about if with 3 weeks to go, and again, there's 3 weeks left, who would you, is Ollie Gordon the overwhelming favorite? Is it Jonathan Brooks? Is it somebody we're missing as who would be the Big 12 player of the year at this particular time?
Yeah, I think if you were picking it right now, it's probably Ollie Gordon, because you think about when he started to take off, coincides pretty well with the rise of Oklahoma State. I mean, you think about where they were after 4 weeks, and then he starts ripping off, 160 yards, 200 yards, 280 yards, and all of a sudden they start winning football games. So I think he probably is the pick. I think there's a case for Jonathan Brooks, certainly, but that Texas team is so talented around him. I heard somebody made that point about what if you took Ollie Gordon away from Oklahoma State. And yeah, I think that hurts the Cowpokes a lot more than taking Jonathan Brooks out of the lineup would hurt Texas. We just saw Texas survive 2 games without a starting quarterback and still win. So I think it tells you how big that team is. If I were to nominate anybody from Texas, I honestly wouldn't even go on the offensive side. I would go on the defensive side to Devondre Sweat.
Yeah.
Think of how few teams have run the ball on Texas. I mean, I watched Houston didn't even try to run the ball. They threw the ball the entire game because they refused to try to run it in the middle with Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy there. And I think Sweat, even though he doesn't play 80 snaps a game, gosh, he's such a presence in the middle of that defense, and he has changed them from a team that 2 years ago could not stop the run to now one of the best run defenses in the country.
I've never seen anybody, there's others, but that big, that strong, and also that mobile. And he blew up those last couple of plays along with others you mentioned in their game and win, holding off Kansas State, that win in overtime. Paul?
Sam, this week you've got some big ones again. It's maybe not as tilt-worthy as last week. Who do you think is the most nervous team this week in the Big 12 to stay in the race?
Yeah, gosh, that's a good question. Certainly I think you're nervous. Even though Texas gets Quinn Ewers back, I still think you're a little bit nervous because you want to see how he looks. Is he 100%? How close is he to full strength? I do think they're going to handle TCU on the road. I mean, the Horned Frogs have just been struggling quite a bit. But Kansas, obviously, they've got Texas Tech at home. That one's a tough one. Oklahoma State goes to UCF. And even though UCF has been down, they're a really talented team. And you guys saw firsthand how well they played against Baylor. They've got a lot of talent and a lot of speed. They flirted with beating Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma State is in a tough situation just because you got to go on the road against a good team. And even though the record doesn't necessarily say that, every game really from here on out for these teams is going to be huge because this race is so tight at this point. So I think really you could fill a long list of teams who are quote unquote nervous at this point.
Sam, there's a lot of teams that are not reaching what at least were maybe just a normal what you expected. And one team that we cover is Baylor, and they're in the middle of that. Who else, in your opinion, has been disappointing? We've discussed some of the teams that are still alive. Who are the disappointments so far in the Big 12, in your opinion?
TCU is by far the biggest one to me. I think Baylor has definitely been a big one just because they fall into depths that I didn't think they would. But TCU, I really thought they had a chance looking at their schedule at the start of the season. I thought they had a chance to start 6-0 when you looked at the schedule. And I thought they had a chance to be a 9-8-9, maybe even a 10-win team if they played their cards right, despite the fact that they lost what they lost, because I thought they did really well in the portal. I thought they really reloaded their talent pretty well. And even when I watched them, I watched the game against Texas Tech a week and a half ago, I still think they have talent. That's the thing, is I still think TCU is a talented team, but for whatever reason, it just has not worked. Nothing has worked there. Offensively, they don't seem to have an identity other than, they go fast, and other than that, they don't really have cohesion offensively, it doesn't seem. Defensively, they struggled a lot. And I do think there probably is a little bit of a vacuum of player leadership because last year you had a team with so many guys who were multi-year starters. Max Duggan and Kendra Miller and Quentin Johnston and Steve Avila, guys who had played together for so long. And so even if you have a comparable talent level, you've got a lot of new faces in new spots. And I think we probably take for granted how hard it is to get that all together. But even with that, you shouldn't be losing 41-3 to Kansas State. You shouldn't be losing by 2 touchdowns to Iowa State. So that TCU has probably been the biggest disappointment for me.
Sam Kahn with theathletic.com with us on 365 Sports.
Sam, I think back to every A&M coach that's been fired over the last 20 years, whether it's R.C. Slocum, Dennis Francione, Mike Sherman, Kevin Sumlin. There was always like a ton of noise where you knew that it was definitely going to happen. Jimbo Fisher, there is certainly frustration, but they're a little quieter about this. What do you think the reason for that is? And do you think it's because they really don't have a plan B and are just going to stick to it another year and see how he does when Texas comes back?
I think the biggest reason is the money. That's number one, because the contract situation that they're in. But the other part where I think it makes everybody a little hesitant to just flush it all down at this point is the amount of talent they have on the roster, because they are legitimately one of the 5 most talented teams in the country. And when you watch that team line up just physically across the board, it is without question one of the most talented rosters in the country. So I think there is a question of, if you make the change, how much of that talent do you lose? Does a lot of these guys hit the portal all of a sudden? If you keep Jimbo Fisher, does that keep the team together? I don't know the answer to that, because we're dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds. So any number of things could happen. But I would say that we're still got 3 weeks left in the season. What happens on Saturday against Mississippi State and what happens on November 25th against LSU, I think is going to tell us a lot about the direction of this thing. I know Brent Zwinnerman from Houston Chronicle earlier this week had reported that, as far as he's concerned, that as of right now, it seems like that Jimbo's probably going to be back next year. But I did take notice that he said as of early November, which is, things can be very fluid. And if they look bad against Mississippi State this weekend, a team that they by all accounts should beat at home, you wonder how that impacts things.
Sam, are you, as we are, and we spent some time on it, obviously, with what's going on in the Big Ten, with all the stuff with Michigan, are you tired of that story? Are you worn out by that story? I hate that it's overshadowing the season, but give us your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I'm at that point now, because it's been, I think, every day now for a few weeks. And, justifiably, because it feels like something new comes out every day. Whether, for a while it was new evidence, and now it's new developments with conversations between Michigan and the Big Ten and the back and forth of all that. And the hard part is I don't think there's really an easy answer. I don't envy the position that Tony Petitti is in right now, because you've got a mob full of coaches and schools in the Big Ten who are very upset at what they deem being at a competitive disadvantage because of, everything that we know at this point. And then you have the side of Michigan that wants the NCAA investigation to play out, which I think is fair. I think it's fair to say, hey, we should have an investigation play out fully before we deliver punishment. And then, obviously they're bringing out, I guess some allegations of their own as well. So it's a really tough spot to be in. But I am tired of it, because me at my heart, like you guys, I'm sure, I really just love the ball. And I just really want to watch the ball. And I'm kind of more interested in Michigan and Penn State playing on the field than I am about what's happening with this, just because it is dragged on to this point.
Yeah, it's just gotten so sloppy and nitpicky and fighting.
This is what I've said, and Paul is much more involved in politics and all that than I am. It has become Republicans against Democrats, in my opinion.
Well, that's kind of, I think, in some ways, college sports, and I've had this conversation with many color reporters. I feel like college sports, and even just the vibe around fans and their allegiances, it has a very partisan nature to it.
Yeah.
It has you're either with us or you're against us, right? So if you're a Michigan fan and you feel like everybody's against you right now, and if you're not a Michigan fan, then you feel like, man, Michigan is not getting the punishment or they're not receiving the consequence they should. And so just like I think you mentioned that dynamic, I feel like we all have our fan outlets that we follow and places that we follow. And I read this and not that. So there is some parallels between college sports and politics for sure.
Sam, do you think Texas, should they win out, will wind up in the college football playoff because the things that they need to happen in front of them will have happened?
Yes. I cannot picture a scenario where a 12-1 Texas team is left out of the playoff. I would be stunned if that happened. I know that 10 years ago we had this very conversation with Baylor and TCU, and they both got left out at 11-1. But Texas has the advantage, two advantages that those two schools did not. Is one, they'll have the conference championship game, so there will be no dispute as to who the conference champion is. Two, they have a win over Alabama. Well, and I'll add a third advantage is they're Texas. And I know you guys have probably heard it, and I would imagine a lot of people listening probably believe that if Baylor or TCU were Texas or Oklahoma, one of those teams would have gotten into the playoff in 2014.
Absolutely.
And both of them would not have gotten shut out. And so because of Texas's brand, but also their resume, like a 10-point win at Alabama, with considering where Alabama is now, it looks better and better every week. So I could not imagine a scenario, even though I know there's been some discussion the last couple of days about, well, what if it's Alabama and Texas at the end and Alabama's 12-1 and they beat Georgia? I still, and having sat in that college football playoff mock selection thing, if the resumes are similar, that's where head-to-head becomes the tiebreaker. And I would think that Texas and Alabama at 12-1, the resumes would be pretty similar. And Texas having that head-to-head advantage over Alabama, I think, would give them the way into the postseason.
You know what I'd love to see? Two alpha brands, even though Alabama in the last 10, 15 years has been like the alpha brand, and Georgia's now taking on that right now, but two alpha brands, two mega blue bloods being angry at each other, but you have head-to-head. But, I mean, I want to see a blue blood left. Sam, I want to see a blue blood left out for once. And they're like, wait a minute, but we are, and now realize what a lot of other teams deal with when things like that occur.
And that's what would have taken 5 or 8 years ago to get an expanded playoff sooner. Of course, now we'll have the expanded playoff next year, but it won't come in time if we do end up having the situation. All I'm picturing is Steve Sarkisian and Nick Saban on SportsCenter on Saturday night before the selection show lobbying for their teams to be picked as the final team in the college football playoff.
Yep, they would be. They'd be campaigning. Okay, have you watched any of The Equalizer, Denzel Washington, John Wick, and or Jason Bourne? Have you watched any of those type movies?
The Bourne trilogy I have.
Okay. Have you watched anything at all John Wick?
No.
Okay.
You're trying to get. Here's the deal. We have a debate over who would win in a fight, and if you watch any of the John Wick movies, it's John Wick. I mean, it's just John Wick. He wants you to pick like Denzel and but look, I love Denzel, but look, I'm telling you, you watch one John Wick movie, you're like, he's going to win.
Yeah, no, I was curious.
Two of my best buddies are huge fans of the John Wick series, and so just based on what they tell me, I would assume he would probably win. But yeah, I haven't watched any of the movies, so I would have no firsthand knowledge of that.
You supported him on the bye week. He's trying to find out if he has a real friend.
I'm trying to see how close you are. Like, you are not. I am not sending you a Christmas card. Yeah. Oh my God, Sam. Hey,
it's going to be an idle mailbox for me on Christmas.
Yeah. Well, it'll be just like mine. I don't get Christmas cards. So thank you. Let's go enjoy games, right? Including tonight, Virginia playing Louisville, among others. That's what I want. That's what I want to get back to. But man, this day and age of social media, and we're guilty sometimes of it. It's just hard to sometimes just be able to enjoy the games. And Penn State could probably do a lot of people some favors, but even losing that game doesn't mean Michigan's out because they still have Ohio State.
No, I would say this for that game. And I know everybody down here got to see it in the playoff game last year, and even though TCU beat them, but J.J. McCarthy is really good, and he's a lot of fun to watch. And it's going to be fun to see Michigan actually get tested. They haven't been tested by this schedule yet, and this will be the first real one that they have. Because Penn State's defense is pretty good. We saw, they held up against Ohio State pretty well. But J.J. McCarthy, I think, is a game breaker. We talked to Dane Brugler, our NFL draft expert at The Athletic. He was on the podcast with me and Max Olson a few weeks ago. And he said, in his opinion, JJ is the third best QB in this upcoming draft behind Caleb Williams and Drake May. And then maybe some NFL personnel people may even, after evaluating them, may even say they might put him at number 2. But he's a lot of fun to watch. And so I'll be certainly interested to see how that game plays out this season.
Sam, appreciate you jumping on with us. As always, love having you on the show. Sam Kahn, theathletic.com, with us on 365 Sports. We appreciate that. What do you think the initial reaction? Don't look. what was the initial reaction to my constant beating the drum, Denzel Equalizer, or John Wick, or Jason Bourne?
I think it would be people who are supporting Denzel.
No.
It's not? Is it Jason Bourne? It's John Wick, man.
John Wick.
It's
Barry
John Wick.
Crawford, John Wick, easily. Somebody brought up the Terminator.
That's not where
Chuck Norris. No, we have rules. There's 3 people.
Yeah.
John Wick, Denzel, and or Jason Bourne.
Yeah. So, and it's got to be Equalizer Denzel because that's the one that fits in most here. Although, if you want to make an argument that we swap out Equalizer Denzel for Man on Fire Denzel, then I'll also go down that road.
Yeah. There's now, Dustin, we love you. John Wick versus the Predator. No. We have rules. I'm going to block you.
The
for
Predator.
Like 2 seconds.
Look, the Predator's a different
3
thing.
names: Wick, Bourne,
because
or Denzel.
They overlap, right? They overlap in what their skill sets are. So if you want to get another like government trained assassin, or well, I guess John Wick wasn't government trained; he was, mob trained. But like, if you want another in the assassin action hero thing, then that's something we'll take in. Like Charles Bronson, like I'll take in Charles Bronson in that argument, but I'm not going to add the Predator, the Terminator. That's science fiction. Those are,
Yeah, but you cannot. It's like we have had rules, and a lot of times when we were doing radio, people would not get this. They would not get. We'd ask a question, bring up 1 or 2 or 3 teams or players, and then you'd have like 48 names mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
It's John Wick, the Equalizer, or Jason Bourne. So you don't think Bourne could get Wick?
I mean, it would be good. It would be good, but Wick, here's the difference. Like, John Wick has a really dark past. It's where, not that the others don't, but like John Wick's is just that level of darker to where if you look in the moment, the compassion is kind of out of it. Although, I mean, I don't know. John Wick likes dogs too. I mean, I don't know if they all don't like dogs, but
Well, that means he's got emotion.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Jason Bourne,
I don't know.
Did he like that one girl?
Yeah, well, she got killed. Yeah.
All right.
And then he had the other girl he protected.
Denzel's a sweet, human being.
Yeah, he's nice. He's going to the diner.
He was trying to help that one kid who was in a gang.
Mm-hmm. Now, is the Equalizer...
I'm blocking anybody. Sir blah, 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 blocked.
The Equalizer is craftier. They threw Jack Reacher in there. I'll feel like Jack Reacher belongs in that discussion. That's the kind of dude.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Although I would say TV Jack Reacher and not Tom Cruise Jack Reacher, just because.
Well, okay, you just brought up another name. Roger Dodger, Cruise from Mission Impossible.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's another one.
Alan you're the one non-blocked. You said Denzel. You spelled his name wrong, but that's okay.
Now, Paxton Scarface is a coked up gangster. That's a different thing.
But he has a machine gun.
Yeah, but he wasn't really good at all that stuff. He was more good at his mash. Yeah.
So
he was good at machinating,
did Equalizer ever die?
No.
Okay.
I haven't seen the third one, but I don't think so.
But he did in that one.
Oh, Man on Fire, he did. Yes.
Yeah, that was I cried.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be when she's crazy.
For the little blonde kid, right?
Yeah, Dakota Fanning.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Jim. And all of you who brought up other names, Roger Dodger's now from 1 second to 2 seconds to the rest of the show because he brought up another name that's not a part of the conversation.
He said, and this is another debate, Mission Impossible Cruise versus Jack Reacher Cruise. I think Ethan Hunt beats Jack Reacher Cruise.
Probably. I don't know. I've seen the Barry Crawford, John Wick's 3-piece suit is bullet Kevlar.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't help. Oh, the guy with the Taken. Does he get involved?
Oh, Liam Neeson, yeah.
Yeah. All right. I took that one, Sir blah, blah, blah. I'm surprised because I blocked you.
Yeah.
Also, John Wick drinks Blanton's bourbon. All right. When we come back, we'll hear from Taylor McHargue, ESPN, on the games this week and his thoughts about college football. Roger Wallace on Texas having a pretty damn good day today. Quinn Ewers back. Offensive linemen back. Defensive backs are back. They're full throttle for the first time and survived K-State. And now they can open up the door. They have the game at TCU. Looking forward to that. And, man, they look good. This is 365 Sports. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. 1943, they opened up their doors, and they have a new facility. This is on Highway 6 and Loop 340 in Waco on the east side of I-35. I drove by there the other day, and I keep looking at that. I'm like, my God, it is beautiful. There's a lot of brand new, big, huge corporate buildings going up all throughout the city of Waco on the southern part, too. Lots of construction. And here's a place that's been in business, helping a lot of people do the construction for many, many years since 1943, with pipe, steel, metal, and so much more. A 2,500 square foot showroom, 1,000 new products available. And if it's pipe, steel, metal, whatever length that you normally had, tubing, whatever it was, they now have the actual length you want. 4, 6, 10, 12, whatever the lengths would come in. I'm not an expert on that, but instead of you getting the material or the product and having to cut it yourself or get somebody else to, they now do that for you. The bays for you to pick up the heavy-duty material, now so much more and available and so much more efficient, and it was always pretty darn good in the first place. Good people. Handshake means something. They want you as a customer, yes. They also want you to be a customer as a repeat customer, and most of you and all of you have been doing that a lot because that's how you stay in business since 1943. PioneerBoys.com.
The right call can make all the difference on and off the field. I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgan Ford. When it's time for a new car, truck, or SUV, Bird Colgan Ford is the right call. Come check out our award-winning lineup of best-selling models in their class, like the Mustang, Explorer, Expedition, F-150, and Super Duty. Make the right call for your next vehicle at Bird Colgan Ford. Bird Colgan Ford proudly supports Baylor Athletics. Sic 'em Bears.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, is your holiday item superstore. Half spiral hams, 8 to 10 pounds for $4.45 a pound. Pit hams, 12 pounds for $4.45 a pound. Bone-in hams, 18 to 22 pounds for $3.40 per pound. Whole raw turkeys from 12 to 16 pounds for $2.50 a pound. Whole smoked turkeys, that's smoked turkeys at 9 to 12 pounds for $3.75 a pound. And mini pit hams, 6 to 8 pounds for $5.99 a pound. And don't forget, they have full service butcher shop where you can find what you want: pork, poultry, seafood, and beef. And I bring up the beef because big beef tenderloin or a prime rib. Brian Bauer and the Bauer family, full service bakery with fresh baked kolaches every morning and bread and cold beer and wine. Tailgate needs from pellet fuel to charcoal. Waco Custom Marketplace and the holiday items, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Some say a dog is a man's best friend. But I tell you what, boys, you better think again. 'Cause there ain't nothing better than some cows, pigs, and turkeys too. I love to cover them in sauce down at Rudy's Barbecue.
Bring all your friends to Rudy's for some tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
This is 365 Sports, powered by SicEm365.com.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
Taylor McHargue has Memphis and Charlotte this week. ESPN broadcaster joins us on 365 Sports. And one of the bigger stories today in the Big 12, other than the fact they're gonna have beach volleyball and lacrosse, by the way, for women's sports starting here pretty soon. Taylor, Quinn Ewers is back. What were your thoughts about what you saw from Malik Murphy in his a couple of weeks of trying to at least handle that position?
Yeah, I thought two different aspects to this, right? The first for Quinn Ewers is I thought, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I thought they would hold on to playing him for at least one more week. He must be clearly feeling well enough that they're going to run him out there to play him. But I also wonder how they feel about this game at TCU. I thought Malik Murphy did some nice things against BYU, but that was a team that they were so much better than that I'm not sure it really mattered. What was concerning last week against Kansas State was the ball security to the team as a whole, but specifically for Malik Murphy in the fourth quarter. And I think that's the piece that you have to be most concerned about if you're Texas going on the road to TCU, and then maybe even a bigger contest the following week in Ames against Iowa State. Quinn Ewers gives you the best chance to win. There's no doubt, and he's healthy. And for every head coach and for every staff, there is a line. And, this week with Memphis, we're talking about it with Seth Hennigan, where he was banged up last week. He's day-to-day right now. Every quarterback that gets hurt, there is a line that you get down to where you fall into the territory of we are better off with our backup in the game than we are with our starter, even if they're at 80%. I think this comes down to ball security issues last week versus Kansas State, and that Texas knows they're going to get TCU's absolute best effort in this upcoming game in 2 days at Fort Worth. This is a primetime game on ABC. They're going to get everything from the Horned Frogs on Saturday night.
Would you have done what Chris Klieman did in overtime?
No, I hated the call, to be honest, and I don't use that word lightly. I thought down the stretch, Kansas State had the momentum. They felt like the team that they were executing at a higher level. Texas had ended up on their heels. Usually, and a lot of times you see this with teams that are the underdog and they've fought their way into an overtime or a last second opportunity to go for two or go for it on fourth down. And if you're the underdog, I love that call most of the time, because if you play out consistent snaps where you're the underdog, eventually water's going to find its level and you're going to lose to the team that you're not favored against. But the way that Kansas State had played towards the end of that game, I thought they were actually the better team. And if that's a 4th and 1 or 4th and goal from the 1 or 2, maybe you feel differently. But from the 4-yard line and the play design that they went with, I thought it did a disservice to their kids. I thought it really would have been better to kick the field goal, try and put points on the board, score a touchdown coming out after that. And then you bank on your defense in the second half. It played pretty well against Texas to get a stop.
Yeah, and Texas just blew that up, that last play. They really did it, but it was like, I also say this, they would have had the ball first to start the second overtime and had momentum of moving the game into overtime, despite what looked like really just kind of seemed like weird calls on even 2nd and 3rd and goal.
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, I go back to, it would be different if Kansas State had built a huge lead and then it collapsed and now you're in overtime. It was the opposite. Texas had the huge lead. Kansas State climbs back. They get 2 second-half turnovers that flip the game on its head. You force overtime. You've got the momentum. The energy had been sucked out of that building. And Texas very fortunate to get out of there with a win. But look, at the end of the day, look at the Vegas odds for who's projected to be in the playoff. Texas is right there. So it doesn't matter how they got out of there with a win. They won the game, and you're playing meaningful games in the month of November. And also for Texas, probably a benefit that Oklahoma lost last week, and that Oklahoma State, in most scenarios, that's who Texas would end up playing in the Big 12 championship. But still a lot of football left to be played in the Big 12. There's some parity in the top third of the conference that I think has certainly surprised me, specifically with Oklahoma State.
Who's the MVP of the Big 12 right now?
Oh, my goodness. It's probably Bowman at Oklahoma State.
Oh.
That or I go back to a couple different things. Bowman at the start of the year not playing all that great. The last few weeks of the season, and I'm not sure if he got hurt against South Alabama when they lost that game, but that was really surprising. The way that they lost that game and the way that they've come back, and the quarterback play and journeyman quarterback. I may be a little bit biased as a former quarterback, but I've been really impressed with him as a player throughout the season. If it's not him from the running back spot, obviously Ollie Gordon playing really well. That's a guy that, as the season's gone along, I mean, you've seen him get Heisman nods from some people. But there's still so much football to be played and really meaningful games down the stretch. I mean, shoot, it may end up being Quinn Ewers if he comes back and plays well over the next 3 weeks, even though he's missed a good chunk of the season.
Taylor, the story, in college football, unfortunately, it's not about Penn State playing Michigan. It's about what's around the Big Ten and about Michigan. We are pretty much tapped out. We've had to cover it. We will cover it, whatever might happen, if anything. How annoyed are you with the story itself overshadowing the season?
Yeah, I think we said the exact same thing last week, and I know I said it on Sirius Radio earlier this week, but it's exhausting. And there are, in some respects, this is cheating involved. There's no doubt about it. But does it need to be at this level? No, I don't think so. I told you guys a couple of weeks ago that there was clearly a line that had been crossed, and I still stand by that. But what are we talking about? Is this big enough to suspend Jim Harbaugh the rest of the season and force Michigan to miss the postseason? I mean, those are some of the scenarios that are being thrown out. I don't think it goes that far, because I don't think people realize just how much sign stealing already goes on in college football. And it's interesting that Michigan is at the forefront of this, but there's a reason that a lot of coaches have not been real vocal on how they feel about this, because it goes on, maybe not to this extent, but sign stealing has gone on as long as signs have been in existence. In my opinion, I do think, of course, there needs to be some sort of penalty, but is it keeping Michigan out of the college football playoff? Is it suspending Jim Harbaugh in season? No, I don't think it's any of those things. And I feel like if you're a Big Ten fan and you're calling for Jim Harbaugh to be suspended and these crazy punishments, well, of course you are, because they're in your conference. But I think everybody else in the college football world honestly just wants this story to go away.
Yeah, I think the conversation needs to be for the Big Ten, like, how do you write it in your rule book that they know here's the line? Because Michigan made a good point. It's like, look, whatever you say, like, there's a lot of different ways to interpret this, and you don't have any, you yourself have not written the rule that punishes. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, and again, that we know that this happens. The evidence that Michigan turned around, that they had knowledge that different staffs within the Big Ten were sharing their signals. Now, they were doing it in the old-fashioned way, which every staff on the planet does the exact same thing. Hey, I've got a buddy that's on XYZ staff. You played them last week. I'm going to call you up. Tell me what you learned. Tell me what signals stood out to you. Okay, now we're going to talk about them as a staff. We're going to implement that during the week. We're going to know if they do this signal or they call out this, that means this. Every staff in the country does that. And if you're going to start policing all of the sign stealing, number one, I think it's impossible to do it. I think the easiest solution to all of this is just go with the green dot on the helmets for linebackers and quarterbacks that we see in the NFL. I only counter to that I've heard that made sense. We had a conversation with a coach this year that said that the reason the NFL does that is you've only got 53 guys on your roster. You're trying to limit a ton of snaps for those guys over the course of the season, and that's why you don't see a ton of tempo in the NFL. The green dot and having a mic in the quarterback's helmet would slow down tempo, and there's a lot of offenses and staff that they need that tempo to neutralize the defense, and having the mic system slows it down, but it may be taken away from them because I think we're probably trending in that direction, just as how silly this sign stealing saga has been.
Taylor, we asked this question. Have you watched? I'm going to do this with him too.
Okay.
Have you seen any of the movies involving John Wick, Denzel with the Equalizer, or Jason Bourne?
Oh, I've seen the entire Bourne series. Love those movies. I saw the most recent John Wick, which I'm not sure that may not be my speed. And the Denzel movies, I don't think I've seen those. I got to be honest.
Okay, well, it's disqualified.
There you go. Yeah, no, we're trying to put together a bracket, and Smokey has a thing.
I have a crush on Denzel Washington. I think he's just a cool as hell dude as a person. Really, yeah.
Yeah, Man on Fire is my favorite movie of all time.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I'm a huge Denzel guy. Now that he's a bad A in that movie as well. But whatever series you're referring to, I can't remember what you said, but I have not seen those.
No,
the Equalizer.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. You need to go. Your homework assignment between now and Friday is just go pick out one of the Equalizers. You'll understand. We're trying to find out the baddest man in the movie, so it's not fake. Because Denzel,
you can't do Batman. I mean, that's a different thing.
Yeah, it's not like the Terminator or anything like that with all that stuff. Okay, we were going to ask you for that, but you have seen Jason Bourne, then, right? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. All of those.
Yeah, he against John Wick would be a bloodbath. It would be.
All right, Taylor, what do you think is going to happen at Texas A&M?
Oh, man. I think it would not surprise me if they moved on from Jimbo after this season, because you're going to have to pay him that money regardless. That money is being spent no matter what. And it's a mind-numbing figure, right, to talk about the amount of cash that they would have to, the check that they would have to write him for normal people in almost any profession. That is a mind-numbing amount of money. But the A&M network is vast. It is some very deep pockets. And I don't think there's a program in college football that wants to be relevant more than Texas A&M. And I don't think that's unfair to say. They want so badly to be part of the top cream of the crop, top 10 to 15 programs year in and year out. And it's not working with Jimbo. They don't win big games. They don't look well coached. And I think you probably, if you don't do it this year, I don't know what you've seen that would lead you to believe that it's going to be significantly different next year. Made some staff changes, brought in Bobby Petrino to call the offense, but it's still, from a philosophic standpoint and how Jimbo operates his team and in-game management, it's not working. And so for what A&M hopes to be as a program where they're trying to knock on the door of the playoff and get into their first Final Four, and now even next year when it goes to a 12-team playoff, they still wouldn't be in that scenario. And so, the opportunity to be on a major stage, 12-team playoff, it's there. Again, it's a long-winded way of me saying I would not be surprised if they moved on from him after this season and they wrote him the check for whatever the number is. I think it still has a 7 in front of it.
Yeah, it's large.
Yeah.
Large. Thank you, man. Have a great broadcast with Charlotte and Memphis. Thanks for your time today, Taylor, as always.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
That's Taylor McHargue, former Rice quarterback, part of ESPN. I didn't agree with the Bowman thought, but I think what happens is, I mentioned this in the chat, you ask about an MVP, and the first thing we think about is it not usually as a quarterback.
Yeah.
And because Ewers has missed a few games, Gabriel's had a couple of hiccups, Howard's had time he's missed, and you really who do you think about? And so I think he thought about Bowman, but obviously Ollie Gordon, Brooks, of course, has been brought up, and even some has mentioned the defensive side of the ball with Sweat, or an offensive lineman, West Virginia's center, offensive lineman at Oklahoma State. In fact, I got my ballot to vote for the All-American team. I don't know what the deadline is. I haven't done it. I need to be completely focused in on that. And I know it's that time of the year because I start to get a lot of email from all sorts of schools around the country telling us about the cornerback at NC State or whoever, and that's always pretty neat to be able to do.
Linebacker at NC State, they did a Taylor Swift-inspired pitch email, which I've got to respect the creativity on that one.
Yeah.
That was almost like it's too bad I didn't have a Heisman vote, and I still don't, but they sent out Colin Klein Band-Aids.
Yeah.
That was
I wasn't a voter that year, but that
would look.
That
not
was
that
awesome.
it would have swayed me, but it would have made me look deeper at a thing because you took the effort to send out that.
Who won it that year? It would have been 11 or 12. It would have been 12. Was that Johnny Manziel's year?
Yeah.
Because 12's when Colin Klein and Kansas State came to Baylor, ranked number 1 and lost in that goal line stand, and eventually got blown out in that game. When we come back, we have a lot to get to, including Roger Wallace, who covers UT because he's the radio color analyst. He'll discuss the Horns. And then at 5 o'clock, we have our college football picks. Kind of boring based on the games we have, but we have to give them. And this is 365 Sports.
TFNB, your bank for life, is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
You have heard quite a bit about the first ever auction. TexasBeefHouse.com, the Duvall Ranch, just outside of Tyler and White House. Samantha Duvall joins us, handles the marketing and so much more. So what has been the reaction, the interest in the auction coming up on Saturday?
We've had a lot of interest on social media. We've had a lot of phone calls about people that are so excited, not only locally, but across the U.S. 1 o'clock on Saturday, we're auctioning off 33 different lots. They will be lots of steak, sausage, ground beef, whole primals, tenderloins, whole ribeyes, whole strip loins. Everything that's perfect for Christmas. We'll also have some tomahawks and cowboy ribs. So this is the perfect time to stock up and get a really good deal on some Angus and Wagyu beef.
And this is for anybody around the country because it's online, phone call, and also if you want to be in person. And you mentioned this from the beginning. If you're just someone who has a nice sized deep freeze, it's great for you. You could put yourself, like you said, pack some stuff together for now or the holidays or even down the road. But restaurant owners, a great chance for them to compile some stuff and accumulate some great product too.
Yes, absolutely. It is not only just for the homeowner. It can be for a restaurant, a food truck, catering company. You can find out more information TexasBeefHouse.com/beef auction. That's going to give you our shipping disclaimer for shipping across the U.S. That's going to give you a PDF file that shows all the different lot numbers. Also includes the link to cci.live, and that's where you can bid live online.
She is Samantha Duvall. She is the energy with TexasBeefHouse.com, along with other great people. You can go to TexasBeefHouse.com/beef auction to get the information you need for Saturday, 1 o'clock, just outside of Tyler at the Duvall Ranch in White House.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nitschke Group Insurance Agency. With the Nitschke Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nitschke Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nitschke Group at 1-800-258-8302.
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
All right, here we go. Roger Wallace, color analyst, UT football. Been with us many times. Appreciate his time. Busy week. A lot of news today, Raj. Official with Quinn Ewers among the defensive backs, Catalina and Crawford, the offensive line, who had guys who had missed a little bit last week against Kansas State. They're healthy enough to play. Maybe one of the more positives as far as updates that they've had in quite some time.
Yeah, kind of feast or famine, David, all back and apparently ready to go. You know, Sark didn't even get asked that today at his availability. He offered up the Quinn Ewers news right away, which is interesting. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they can do with a full roster and everybody healthy as they head up to Fort Worth.
Roger, do you think that part of this with Quinn coming back, even though they may necessarily need him to win games, and they won without him, but is about maybe not putting Malik Murphy in a position where he has to be the difference in a game?
Well, the timing works out pretty well because, you know, Murphy got the two home games. I also think, I don't think they want it to be a savior situation with Quinn Ewers where let's go with Malik, and if we need Quinn Ewers, we'll bring him in. I think that, I don't know if that sends a great message for a number of reasons. So I think it's strictly that he's ready to go and kind of nothing more, nothing less. Now, to your point, if Murphy didn't have some of the struggles he had in the two games, then maybe they give Ewers another week before they go up to Ames. But, I mean, he's had some turnover issues, and it is on the road, and we know what's at stake. So I think all those things considered, that's the decision. But I don't think they would put Ewers out there if he didn't think he was ready to go because, I mean, he's going to have to absorb some hits. I don't think it's unrealistic to think he's going to go hit-free. Although, you know, guys, I've been thinking, I don't think Malik Murphy's been hit in his two games. It's pretty remarkable that, how clean of the pocket or how quickly he got the ball. He never took a hit.
I know UT fans will all scream the answer immediately, but let's say there was a game or two, or let's say there were 4 games left. Ewers couldn't come back. Malik Murphy was who he was. Was there any chance whatsoever they ever would have turned to Arch Manning?
I don't think so because of the things that they saw that Malik Murphy can do on the positive side. And while he did throw the pick, some of the other issues that got that game flipped were not on him. They fail in a red zone 4th down situation. He's not part of the play. The block punt leads to the quick touchdown and gets K-State back in it. He's had a couple turnovers, but Quinn Ewers has had some turnovers this year too. So he made enough plays, I think, to give them confidence that he can do it. Sure, the concern is, knowing when to throw the ball in the second row rather than try to make a play. But I think he's done enough positive that they would stick with a guy that's played 2 games and a quarter in the Big 12.
He was put in a tough situation. A team ranked high, a team that's wanting to win a Big 12 title, to play for one, maybe a college football playoff. I thought being as young, raw as he was, he handled it pretty well despite the picks.
Yeah, and I think that's right, David. I think that's good because the picks were so glaring, especially the one on the screen. That's what you kind of remember. But let's remember the way he started those 2 games. He was really good, and he was doing something that they didn't do other than the Alabama game. They haven't done much, and that's get over the top, get the deep ball, get those quick scores with A.D. Mitchell in the last 2 games. So I think a lot of his good has been clouded a little bit by some glaring mistakes.
Roger, last week they got a scare. They've had a couple of different scares. Houston was a scare. How do you feel like they've navigated that? And does it scare you that they get scares, or is that just part of it with this team?
Yeah, I think it scares. I think it scares a lot of people because they were games that they were in control. When you think about the issue at Houston, I mean, they look like they were going to run away and hide and just suck the life out of Houston. And then, all of a sudden it's tied, your quarterback's out. And then you look at K-State and again, kind of the same situation. You're up 17-0. You're trying to go in and add to that again. And so I think that's the scary part for Texas is the fact that they've let leads slip away. But I mean, they love the way they handled Alabama when they had the lead, lost the lead late in the third, and then came back and won it. And obviously OU was the other situation where they were behind, had to fight back, and then, of course, OU had that drive. So, but yeah, I don't think they want it feels a little bit like, okay, we've seen a pattern here that does make you uncomfortable if you're a Texas fan or a Texas someone on in the program.
So, Roger, doing the game. It's in overtime. Texas settles for the field goal. 19-yard pass on the opening play of the overtime with Howard to the tight end Sinnott. Do you feel like there's no doubt they're going to score like on the next play or two with some sort of a quarterback draw or whatever?
Yeah, I said it, David. I said they're going to run Howard, and sure enough, first play they do, doesn't get anything, and then the two passes, one gets deflected, one was just off the mark and into coverage. But yeah, I mean, how could you not the way they were moving the ball and 6 yards? And I thought 3 plays to get 6 yards. I never dreamt that the way Texas was a little wobbly on offense, that Chris Kleiman wouldn't try to just take it to a second overtime. I know he said afterwards he wouldn't hesitate doing it again, but again, yeah, I thought, boy, that first hit down to the 6, they've got so many different options on offense. I figured, yeah, that it's pretty realistic to think they were going to punch it in.
Roger, what scares you the most about TCU?
Texas mistakes. I think they've proven that they're good enough when they're clean that they can win these games and do it in a not comfortable fashion, but a solid fashion. But when things start going sideways, it's usually them giving the ball up. Penalties have been an issue in ball games, but I think if they line up and they have no turnovers and the penalties are at a minimum, unless TCU just goes crazy on offense, I think the turnovers and the penalties is what would scare me for Texas going up there and getting beat.
Yeah, and we've said this, that the Houston game, and again, different people the last 5, 8, 9, 10 years, but that's a game, or last week is a game they lose in the last 8 to 10 years, right? That's the one that they would burp. And then you're like, what the hell happened? And maybe lose both of them. That's kind of who they've been. Says a lot about maybe that grit that they have this year.
Yeah, it's so funny because I've been here long enough to go through that stretch with Mac where this is how they won so many of those games. They figured it out. I know I bring up some nightmares with you, David, but against Nebraska.
Yep.
I mean, they just found ways to beat them, and they shouldn't have, and a fumble in the snow and a walk-on kicker and things like that. And then all of a sudden it went sideways the other way where it just seemed like they found ways to lose. And now you're starting to see a little bit of a shift back to, in these close games, they seem to be able to make 1 or 2 or 3 more plays to get on the right side of it. So it is kind of an interesting momentum shift with what they're doing this season. And we saw glimpses of it last year, and we certainly saw glimpses of it. Let's not forget, Tom Herman won 10 games in 2018 and beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. So we've seen glimpses, but we haven't seen the consistency, which is why they've played for one Big 12 championship since 2009.
In your gut, is Quinn Ewers back at Texas next year?
No. The only reason I say that is because I think that then the plan gets turned a little bit upside down. And I know we've talked a lot about, okay, what if he's gone? Then who's the guy? And I can't answer that. I don't know. I'm sure when the season started, they had an idea of the plan, but they also didn't know that Malik Murphy would play and win 2 games. Let's not forget he won those. He was the winning quarterback in those 2 games. And so he's got experience. But if Quinn's back, then anything's on the table, as you guys certainly know in this day and age of college football.
Roger, thanks for giving us time, young man. As always, appreciate you. Love what you do. Have fun in Fort Worth at Amon Carter, and we'll talk again soon. Have a great weekend.
Right on, guys. Take care. Thanks.
Roger Wallace, color analyst with Craig Way on the Texas radio broadcast. And for some, I've said this before, Roger, I think it was back in 1987. We had some changes in the sports department. One of the best people I've ever known in the history of broadcast, Jerry Gumbert, went to New York to work for ABC. They were bought by Cap Cities, got laid off, came back, started running the department along with Terry Heaton. I was there. The sports director at the time moved on, and I took over as sports director, and they said, hey, we got this young kid out of Kansas. He went to Indiana. Roger Wallace became the weeknight sportscaster. He was really smooth. Still does work with KXAN in Austin. Great friend of mine. Always had some great memories with him. And he's been doing well and has been for a while the color analyst at UT football. All right, when we come back, college football picks. Oh, by the way, a note. Our coverage of what we do with this show is it's not exclusively college football, because when the Rangers won, we had a bit with that. We've had a Hall of Famers from other sports. There's a Cowboys segment or two. And what may be a bigger story at times, but it's mainly, but Nikki Collin, Baylor women's basketball coach, I recorded an interview with her earlier today. They play 5th-ranked Utah next Tuesday. She'll be a part of the end of the last hour tomorrow on 365 Sports. This is 365 Sports. City of Woodway. Let me check what they have. They had that big deal with the Halloween, which great. Kids got a bunch of candy. I'm sure that maybe a few of the adults got a bunch of candy. But coming up this weekend, the Woodway Farmers Market for the month of November the 12th from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. Join the City of Woodway for the monthly farmers market. This is really good. You get some great produce there. Sunday from 10 until 2 at the Carling Bright Arboretum. The grounds, people spread out everywhere with their booths. Enjoy a variety of vendors. Food trucks are there, live music, parking available at the pavilion, at the Arboretum, at City Hall, across the street, or the Woodway Family Center. It's the City of Woodway. For more information on the farmers market on November 12th, 10 until 2, go to discoverwoodway.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
This is 365 Sports.
The Sikkim 365 app is brought to you by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour. Craig Smoak back. Paul's doing tomorrow. We have high school football playoffs tomorrow. Craig will be back on Monday. Had some dental work today, doing pretty well, and I'll go see him after the show. And I bought him a milkshake.
Yeah,
now, you don't want to use the straw.
No, you can't use it. That's kind of the cruel thing about it. It's like, hey, you've had this dental work. You can have a milkshake, but don't drink it through a straw.
Well, sometimes I did that the other day when I had on the right side of my mouth. But you had to be careful with the straw, and they want you to do something that's cool the first few hours. And so I was going to go by some place and get some nice hot, like a potato soup or something. But I don't think you're supposed to do that warmth the first day.
You know what might be good is like pudding.
Yeah, remember I used to get those
the little Jello pudding cups. Yeah, that might be good.
All right, I'll do that. I think you'd like the chocolate on that. All right, we're gonna. This is up front telling you that we're gonna give our picks. That doesn't look very large. Is that normally like that?
We've got more of the.
That almost looks like it's turning at me, and I guess it is over there. All right, it's intimidating. So I don't know who's winning this thing.
You are, Smoky.
I still think I have one more win. I think I went 5-0 last week.
No, you couldn't have because Garrett went 0-5, and you guys had a similar pick.
0-5?
Yeah.
What?
Terrible.
What game did you miss? I don't think I missed a game.
I can't even remember.
All right, that's fine. You guys are already. This is sign stealing scandal on our picks.
Hold on. I'll tell you.
I really think I went 5-0. There may have been a Pac-12 game. It's always been one to get me like. I know I picked I know I picked Washington to beat USC.
Did we do Arizona and UCLA?
Oh no, I might have. Who
was it? Arizona UCLA?
That might have been the one.
No, let's see. You did go 5-0 last. No, well the record reflects that.
What was my record last week?
You were 26-19. Now you're 31-19. Set your hole.
Okay, all right.
Hey, you're out of here. You're not on camera.
I just wanted to make sure you guys said that I went 5-0.
5-0. And Garrett.
No, you did not.
Garrett went 1-4.
Okay,
so no,
good.
that's not true.
All right, so there we are. Craig actually sent a text out in the group. He goes, "Congratulations," because it was a game late, of which I won as well. So I'm up a game. Emory is sliding.
Yes, Emory last week picked Oklahoma and Kansas State, so that hurt him.
Well, and both games could have gone either way. All right, then there's Garrett, Paul.
Yeah, I'm climbing back to 500. That's the goal. So Garrett was 1-4.
All right, here we are.
He did pick Georgia, and that was.
I'm going to go to the chat room, and I'll maybe read off the first 4 or 5 for each game. You can obviously see that this is boring because there's one game, Tennessee, Missouri, where there's a difference. We'll get to that. So you give us your picks. Paxton says Garrett throw in the towel.
I might need to.
No, it's not. We've got 3 full weeks plus the conference championship games. You can go 5-0. Others can screw up. All right, so here we go. Michigan, and this is kind of surprising to me, but then again not because they've been a battering ram. Michigan, Penn State, across the board, we all take the Wolverines.
Yeah, I don't think that there is a there's just not a reason I can see that Penn State can score enough to keep up with Michigan in this. And Penn State's defense is fantastic. So is Michigan's defense. It's fantastic. But Michigan's just better on offense. They've got weapons that Penn State does not have at this time. Now, maybe Penn State, charges up and gets them, but I just can't see it.
Do you think that you do this us against the world, and they seem like they're going to be fine with that? Some team, Miami loved doing that, right? Mm-hmm. Some teams love doing that. They played better when people hated them. So is there any way that this ever becomes a distraction?
I think it would have already.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Maybe it did.
I mean, the thing is that it's filtered through. Like, so if you're a player, what does it matter that they're stealing the signs?
Well, but you don't know if your coach is going to be gone, and you got kind of like
I don't think.
But they played without him.
Yeah, they played without him
early in the year. Yeah, there you
I mean,
go.
so like all this has worked out, and basically Jim Harbaugh's people, because you believe in a locker room, because you've heard some dumb stuff come out of locker rooms of like, this is what they really believe as a team, but if it works. But in a locker room, if you believe a certain thing, and if you believe that Jim Harbaugh is truly a victim in all this, that poor little $11 million a year Jim Harbaugh is just getting picked on.
They just hate us because we're good and we beat Ohio State.
So
here's one thing I do know. You'll also be shocked at how often what we may discuss, what might even be on social media, which could be a zoo, a clown show, how often sometimes within the locker room, they don't know what the hell's going on outside the locker room. If they've done their job, they probably don't, but it's hard because parents and girlfriends and whatever else. Okay, the second game, Georgia. I was surprised. There were some people talking about Ole Miss, of course, they're good, but they're not Georgia good. Not many people maybe are Georgia good. They sure haven't been the last couple of years. Across the board, this is boring. Everybody picks the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I mean, why would you pick against them? Although Ole Miss, like, look, Lane Kiffin's going to have one of these that he pulls out of nowhere. This might be the one. Jackson Dart's playing really well right now. He just hasn't done this kind of thing yet, though.
Beat, like, the number one team in the country?
Yeah, like he hasn't done that.
And I wouldn't be able to tell you this. What is their best win?
LSU.
LSU since he took over Ole Miss. Okay. All right.
This year.
This year. Yeah, just a little bit a while ago. Okay. All right, there we go with that one. Again, boring. Florida State, Miami used to be the game of the year, as I mentioned. I don't care. It's not the same rivalry. It's still a very intense rivalry, but Florida State across the board.
Where this could swing a little bit.
Stop.
I mean, I'm just giving you some information that could be vital. But Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson did not play against Pitt last week. They are both practicing this week, and it appears that they're trending that way. But if Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson are not in, and they already, like, they had their four of their top five wide receivers were out last week against Pitt. And it certainly affected the offense.
They're not going to be out. They're not going to miss this game.
Again, I'm just trying to give you facts here. But
you're giving me facts. I'm telling you the facts, so it doesn't matter if they play or not, they beat Miami.
I think it does. I think it really does, based on what they did. If those guys are not playing, this offense is way different.
You don't think they're going to play?
I think they're going to play, but if they don't, I don't know. Like, again, Mike Norvell's been very, like, mystical about it. Like, it's like he's not giving a definitive answer on it.
I'll ask you again. Do you think that Coleman and whoever else are going to play?
Yes.
Then they'll win.
Okay, but like, again, I'm giving some context for it.
Yeah, I know you're trying. This has been a team that's scaring you because it's so close to being.
Yeah,
who I predicted will win the national championship.
But like, again, just trying to give context for it.
All right, Tennessee, Paulsville only got the Vols against Missouri. The game here with me on Missouri, and Garrett and Paul, you can discuss this if you want. They gave Georgia everything they could handle. They're really pretty good. They still are kind of, I think, under the radar, so to speak, in the national stage. This is when, to me, they validate, like Kansas going in last week and taking care of business after beating Oklahoma, not saying the same thing at the level of Missouri and Tennessee. This is when you're really good. When you play a game like that was emotional, you played well, you didn't win, and you follow it up with another really quality opponent, and then you win this one.
Yeah. Luther Burden's banged up. And somebody had to be different, and it's not going to mean a hill of beans difference if I'm 7 games out of first or 9 games out of first next week. So I'll take 4-1 or 5-0 this week. I'm fine with that. So given my record, so I picked Tennessee. Their defense is pretty good. And I think that they can muddy the water here enough for Mizzou. And if Luther Burden's not there, then it changes their offense. But we don't know. Again, Eli Drinkwitz has been a little, sketchy on that. So, but if Luther Burden's not there, then I feel really good about my pick.
Do you know the picks of all of us when you pick yours?
No, I picked before all of you.
That's what I was going to say, because you said somebody had to be different. There could have been a couple of.
Well,
other
I mean, I
people
had to
picking
do this
Tennessee.
twice, so yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was the same way on the other one. So
all right, Garrett, on Missouri and Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, I think Missouri's been a fun story this year. The thing that has me a little nervous is the Luther Burden status. Even without him, I think that having Theo Weiss there for Cook will help. I just don't trust Joe Milton as a quarterback. I think it's I brought this up to Paul earlier. Like, he's good, but all you hear about is the arm strength and throwing the deep ball, and it reminds me too much of Jamarcus Russell, and I don't know if that's PTSD or what, but that's why I'm out on the balls.
All right, let me ask you this. Who's a better receiver, Coleman or Burden?
Oh, I mean, I didn't take – like, Luther Burden's good, but Keon Coleman he's something different. I mean, I can tell you there's only two guys in the country that I would even debate taking over Keon Coleman right now, and it's Marvin Harrison Jr., who I would take over Keon Coleman because he's the dude, and Rome Odunze
from Washington. Here's a guy who writes for Vols Country FN. He said, there's a video of Burden scoring a touchdown pass against Georgia, the best receiver in the SEC right now by a wide margin. That's why it's a cool little tweet.
Yeah.
I appreciate the guy going out on the limb and saying
I would
that.
say that Burden and Malik Neighbors, if I'm going SEC wide receivers, I'm saying Burton and Malik Neighbors, not Burton. Burden. Burton is at Alabama. Luther Burden and Malik Neighbors. Yeah, I'd like that competition right there. Yeah.
All right, the last game. Again,
Brian Thomas, not bad either.
Across the board,
LSU.
Washington and USC. And Utah. Utah just pulverized Arizona State. I just don't know if they have enough. Do they have enough? If they were okay and healthy and all that, do they have enough to keep up with what Washington can do on offense?
Well, look, I think the game that's going to be a comp to this one was Washington Arizona earlier in the year, where Arizona really did a good job of keeping Washington in check and had a shot to maybe win that game. I think that Utah can do that here. We saw what happened to them against Oregon, and Washington's offense is really good, but I do think that they're a little more vulnerable because they don't run the ball. So depending on, if Michael Penix goes through a couple bad series, then Utah can kind of hang in this thing. And Washington's defense is good but not great. So, yeah, I think it's going to be more like that Arizona game, but still, I think you got to go Washington here. They're just too good across the board. I was just talking about one of their wide receivers. They have Jalen Polk. They've got Jalen McMillan. They've got another guy whose name escapes me right now. They can just kind of come at you from all angles. So if you're doing a good job in Rome Odunze, well, congratulations. I promise you're probably not on the other guys.
Yeah. All right. There we are. Michigan, Georgia, Florida State, Washington across the board, and the one with Tennessee, Paul. And we don't want it that way. None of us know how the other picks. Levi enters these, right?
I did this week, but I didn't do it until after I was done. So
okay.
Yeah.
So
I even did this week to admit something. Levi sent it to me, but I didn't even look until I was done because I don't want you guys to influence me at all.
That's right. Here's the other thing. Those are 5 of the best games of the week. Again, we don't pick like something that's easy where somebody's a 25-point favorite.
And, after I looked at it, I kind of took a step back and went, oh, yeah, there isn't any difference here. But then I started looking at other games, like what am I going to do? I'm going to pick, UCF and Oklahoma State? No. I mean, No,
we're not going to do that, even though we love to cover the Big 12. Okay, when we move on, the Florida State, Miami, Sharice saying 45-24. Paxton, do you chalk on March Madness brackets? No. I'm awful. Paxton thinks Washington wins by 30. Paxton believes Missouri wins by 10. Lane Train is overdue from Jim R. Florida State, Miami covers. Let's see here.
Yeah, I think they're 13 or whatever, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I buy it.
Georgia, but Ole Miss covers. Wet blanket took Michigan, Georgia, Florida State, Tennessee, Washington, like the 5 that Paul did. And we'll come back next week. So right now, a game up on Craig, 5 up on Emory. Boy, that flipped quickly. And then Paul and Garrett are trying to get back to 500. Okay, and hopefully they do. I'm a 5-0 week away from being in really good shape here because we're going to do what? 5 more? There's 3 more weeks out. No, 2 more weeks after this one.
Yeah.
And then the championship weekend. And we're done?
Yep. Well, then we'll do some bowls and stuff like that.
But no more than 5. Don't change the numbers.
I'm not going to do we'll just do them in groups of 5.
Chunks of 5. Okay.
Chunks of 5. Yeah.
All right. When we come back, we're not done. We're going to hear from Mickey Spagnola. Cowboys, man, that last week was so bizarre. that game. They had 56 yards and penalties against Philadelphia's defense, went from their own, 14 to the 6, and came away empty-handed. What went wrong besides the obvious? We'll have Mickey for that. Paul's top 5 around the corner, and this is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers, get it. They limited time hot honey magnifico that you pour slowly and surely on top of whatever particular pizza you want. Hot honey magnifico. You can order it right now for $10.99 each. You go online to get that too. Pizzoli. Order now. They have pepperoni, buffalo chicken, pepperoni sausage, and chicken bacon ranch. They're kind of like almost like sandwiches. $3 off specialty, large specialty pizzas, boneless wings with the taste you want, barbecue buffalo, garlic parmesan. I love wings. I love hot wings. I like spicy wings, but I like mine dry. And you can get that if you want to. There's all sorts of specials on Marcos.com. 5 locations in the Waco area, Belmead, Robinson, China Spring, Woodway, and Hewitt. Marco's Pizza. Bob Mock, the owner, been in the business for a long, long time. Pizza business, fastest growing pizza brand. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, is your holiday item superstore. Half spiral hams, 8 to 10 pounds for $4.45 a pound. Pit hams, 12 pounds for $4.45 a pound. Bone-in hams, 18 to 22 pounds for $3.40 per pound. Whole raw turkeys from 12 to 16 pounds for $2.50 a pound. Whole smoked turkeys, that's smoked turkeys at 9 to 12 pounds for $3.75 a pound. And mini pit hams, 6 to 8 pounds for $5.99 a pound. And don't forget, they have full service butcher shop where you can find what you want: pork, poultry, seafood, and beef. And I bring up the beef because big beef tenderloin or a prime rib. Brian Bauer and the Bauer family, full service bakery with fresh baked kolaches every morning and bread and cold beer and wine. Tailgate needs from pellet fuel to charcoal. Waco Custom Marketplace and the holiday items, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is 365 Sports. It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com.
Prescott fires, caught, Lamb, touchdown.
Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
I got a question. What college football fan base and what NFL fan base, if they had, that is the most, what's the word? Like frustrated week in and week out. Now, there was the year Nebraska lost like 8 games by 3 points or 7 points, whatever, and I was ready to like do some bad things to myself. But is there any fan base that goes back to the trough more often in the NFL, even with winning a lot, than getting beaten over the head with frustration like the Cowboys?
I think it's Texas A&M.
All right, there you go.
I mean, like, you know, and look, it's kind of not a coincidence that A&M, Texas, and the Cowboys all kind of they're all from the same spot. They all overlap in fan bases a little bit. I mean, A&M and Texas don't, but I mean, like, if you're an A&M or Texas fan, there's a better than 75% chance you're also a Cowboys fan. So those fan bases overlap, and it's just constantly, okay, there's going to be big things happening. No, big things happening. Oh, this is it. They've got it figured out. There's no way.
But at least the Cowboys get to a point where they're right on the cusp. A&M rarely has done that over many years. The COVID year, they were really pretty good.
Yeah. I think Texas A&M and the Cowboys are similar in that they don't like there's nothing that they could have that they couldn't have if they wanted it. If the Cowboys, like I know the salary cap is a thing, but it's not really a thing if you know how to work it. The Cowboys have an interesting dynamic that I'm starting to figure out here. That is,
you think?
They have an owner who, honestly, if you just let him go straight, like if you just said you're in charge of every decision, like nobody's going to stop you. We'll make it work on the back end. But you tell us you're going to build the roster straight through. You can have a couple people to kind of help you, sift through facts, but everything is going to be you without anybody stopping you. The Cowboys roster would look probably drastically different because he would run the red lights, man. Jerry would go straight through. Now, I know he's changed that over the years, but then you have one of the people in the ownership group, which is Steven. Steven is overly cautious. And I think I know everybody blames
Is he the
Jerry.
worry wart?
He's the worry wart. And you need some of that, but I think that maybe some of that is spilled over a little bit too much because they have a great scouting department. Nobody's debating that. They're fantastic.
They do. Yep.
But they don't pull the trigger.
Well, we'll talk to Mickey about that here in just a second. He's calling us back. By the way, I mentioned this earlier in the show. Somebody asked me on Twitter. Yes, tonight the Texas high school football state playoffs begin. A lot of games on Thursday through the weekend. Pretty nasty weather, so maybe you'll see a shocker or two, although most first-round games are pretty much according to plan. Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Mickey, I was talking about the Cowboys. They're always in the conversation, and they're good. And they're winning divisions or they're in the playoffs or whatever. But over the years, and you've been covering them since you and I were like 4, but have you ever seen a team? They've had some exhilarating wins, but I'm talking especially the last 15 to 25 years. A team gets so close at so many times and just bizarro stuff happens.
Absolutely. And that was kind of my point after the game Sunday against Philadelphia that, in this series with Philadelphia, I've seen so many weird things take place and actually good and bad for the Cowboys, especially in Philadelphia, right? And, just off the top of my head, I'm sure you remember load left, right?
Yep,
kind of a weird thing. The Bounty Bowl in '89. A good thing for the Cowboys. It was a tight game that one year, and Darren Woodson has an interception and goes 95 yards for a touchdown to seal the win. They clinched a playoff berth there in '91 thanks to Kelvin Martin's punt return for a touchdown. So many just weird things. And then you get to this game, and you miss a 2-point conversion by the length of Dak Prescott's toes. You have and it gets overturned, by the way, because the initial call was he was in, and obviously he was out. The touchdown reverse to Schoonmaker on the goal line, the width of his knee. But you know what? Even that one, and I got a bone to pick on it, is that think about this. When is a catch a catch? You got to complete the play to the ground, right?
Yeah.
Not to one knee. And they marked it at the one knee, not when he went down to the ground after the catch. Because I guarantee you, if he had gone down to one knee and he never ran with the ball and the ball came out, it'd have been an incomplete pass. So to me, that was a weird one that never got explained. They get a false start on the 6-yard line, And if you go back and look at it, you got to look really hard to see a false start, right? So, yeah, they were so close in that game. But I guess, the bad thing is no moral victories. You got beat. The good thing is they went toe-to-toe with the team with the best record in the NFL at their place. And their place is a little different than everybody else's place. And so you had to take solace that after what happened in San Francisco, maybe this was a step forward, but not forward enough.
Mickey, I could not agree with you more on the Schoonmaker thing, and not just because I wanted it to happen, and it would have changed everything, but just on I just need a definition of what a catch is that you're going to stick with, because that was if he hits the ground and the ball comes out, then we're not even having this discussion because it's not a catch. So
it's incomplete, right? Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So it's a catch after it's completed. If he the football move, they changed this rule because of Dez, right? And all of that, and Charles, and Calvin Johnson, and all those kind of silly things that they did before. And then here you have it where it's different. They made the ruling. It is what it is. I do say, the only feeling I had for the Cowboys in this, now seeing where they've gone the last couple weeks and how things appear to have shifted since that San Francisco game, is they need to learn when somebody's trying to buy your dinner, let them buy it. That was the thing at the end of the game was look, the Eagles are trying to pick up the check. Don't fight with them. Just go do it. And they're right there at the end. Those little things got them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the hard one, and okay, judgment call on the false start, and Dak knows, and he took responsibility for it. You can't take the sack after you got moved back to 11-yard line. He's got to throw the ball away. Although while he's getting sacked, he certainly got hit in the head going to the ground. That got, that crew. If they're really judging these guys. And judging for both teams, because both teams ended up with 10 penalties. It was bad. And the communication was bad. They picked up the penalty and didn't explain why. The guy just said, no penalty. Well, it was hands to the face to Michael Gallup. And they didn't explain it. And the other one with the non-reporting end, they just called it a bad alignment. They didn't say, why it was a bad alignment. They should explain that to you, right? That that Chuma Edoga didn't report in as a tight end, as an eligible receiver. So, yeah, that was just bad. Let's put it that way.
All right, Mickey. So they lose the game. It was they're 2.5 back. Although the Eagles' schedule gets really, really tough coming up, but everybody plays. For the most part, the same people if you're in the same division. They're good, and they blow out people when they win, and then, of course, they have the crazy, except San Francisco beat them up pretty good. The Eagles with Jalen Hurts' knee, are they playing with fire right now with him?
I think so, because I think that they protected him. You didn't see many purposely called run plays, right? He scrambled. They can do the brotherly shove pretty well. But at one point in the game, when he did get sacked, it looked like that might have been it for the game for him, right? So I keep saying with these teams that think it's great to have a quarterback that can run, but you better be careful and just look at the Giants. They're down 2 quarterbacks because the quarterbacks got hurt. Now, I don't know if they got hurt running the ball or the fact that their offensive line isn't very good, but they've got to start a guy named Tommy DeVito, his first NFL start, an undrafted rookie who has had to play in parts of both of the last 2 games. But their quarterbacks got hurt. How many quarterbacks around the league right now are hurt and out and got to have backups to play? Great to have a running quarterback, but you're playing with fire when you're calling these running plays. And if you think back to the first game against the Giants, we were in the fourth quarter and they were still calling running plays for Daniel Jones when it's 34 or 40 to nothing, right? What are you doing? So, yeah, some of these offensive coordinators need to rethink some of this stuff.
Mickey, the Giants used to be one of the most well-run organizations in the league. They're a mess. I mean, they just it is like Washington right now, like even with the new ownership group, kind of doing it better than the Giants are. And that's really surprising to me.
You know, now, if you think back to that season opener, okay, and everybody was making a big deal out of how Daniel Jones had turned the corner, that they added this guy in free agency to their defensive line. They added that guy. They drafted Thibodeau, that they were going to be a pretty good team, and they were going to challenge for the NFC East. And I remember people picked the Giants to beat the Cowboys in that opener. Oh, it's at home, and they went to the playoffs. And I remember saying, yeah, they did all that, but one thing they didn't fix was their offensive line. And look what's happened now. If I remember, I left my stat in my backpack, but their quarterbacks have been sacked 49 times in 9 games. Factor that out. That's about a pace to get to 90 sacks in a game. And they can't keep the quarterbacks healthy. So, yeah, one of the things you said is very accurate, that you can add all these things, but you better fix your biggest problem, which was the problem last year.
Well, that means he gets sacked once every time that Sam Howell gets sacked twice.
But you just get your quarterbacks beat up. I mean, I was looking at their stats the last couple games. I think in 2 games they'd suffered like 14 sacks. You can't win, and they're not scoring either. You know, if you look at the one game they won, I think it was Washington. Maybe they beat them the first time around.
They always beat Washington, yeah.
30 some points. Since then, they haven't scored more than 16 in a game, and they were able to win one, by the way. So, yeah, I mean, at some point, you know, we know the criticism for your team, but when you look at other teams, some of that stuff's not real good.
Mickey, the Cowboys need a kind of a number 2 target to I don't know if step up, or they need to figure out how to get Cooks and Gallup maybe more involved. You know, I don't know if it's that for Gallup. I don't know if he's not playing up to the level that we've seen, and Cooks, if it's just not working all the time, but there are some opportunities for him. I know they signed Martavis Bryant. That's one of those long-term experiment, like let's see what happens here things. But
that's a shot in the dark.
Yeah, that's a shot. That one thing almost has nothing to do with the other, even though they play the same position. They do these kind of things all the time. But what do you think they do to try to get those guys more involved so that, look, it's working out well with CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson's taking huge steps forward, but they got to get something out of their other wide receivers.
Yeah, and I think so. And I think that a little bit with Cooks, I think teams realize, you know, what they're up against him and are being very careful. You know, last couple games, I've seen safeties 10, 15 yards off the line of scrimmage, making sure they kept the Cowboys everything in front of them. But having said that, and I know maybe it's just one game, and it's not going to happen every week, Dak threw for 374 yards. Mm-hmm. He ended up with a quarterback rating of about, I think it was 111, and each of the last 3 weeks, he set the single season high passing. So if they get Cooks going and Gallup going, I mean, is he going to throw for 450? So at some point, you know, it's more about not, you know, the statistics. It's making a play when you have to make it, and that's what got them against Philadelphia, because they didn't do that, and they come up 5 points short. So I understand the Cooks thing and the Gallup thing, but, you know, okay, get those guys going. Is it okay that Kevontae Turpin catches a touchdown pass? And so as long as they're being productive and piling up 406 yards of total offense, I'm okay with that. It's when, you lose and you didn't make plays and you say, well, maybe if they got the other guy's ball, maybe they, have 450 yards total offense. So, yeah, it's a kind of hard thing to figure out, and why Cooks. Dak was asked about that, and we were kind of talking off the record, and basically his answer to somebody was, "Go watch the tape." Yeah. So take what you want for what that means.
Mickey, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Mickey Spagnola with us on Thursdays in the 5 o'clock hour. DallasCowboys.com. Cowboys, who they have this week, Paul?
They have the Giants. And how about next week?
So this is the 938th consecutive week in which the Cowboys have played a team where the week before the starting quarterback was injured.
Yes. They're down to the third
Am I right?
stringer.
It seems like it. It definitely seems
Who do
like
they play after the Giants?
They play the Panthers, so we'll
All right.
see.
Who do they have at quarter? I don't even know.
Bryce Young.
All right. Good luck to Bryce Young this weekend. I'm telling you, I'm right. And even after all of that, they haven't been able to get to that one level since 1995. All right, when we come back, Paul Catalina's top 5. Don Chimador and Coffee Beans, Town West Shopping Center, in between Richland Drive and Valley Mills in Waco. I was there earlier this week. Really appreciate it. Cheyenne was there. If it's not Cheyenne, it's Ashley or Carol or sometimes all three. Went in there and told them I'm going to go back down to see my brothers at some point in early December and enjoy sitting on my younger brother Philip's beautiful place that is overlooking the Atlantic coast and the ocean. It is gorgeous going down there to see them for just a couple of 2 or 3, 4 days, and we smoke a bunch of cigars when we're together and have drinks and enjoy and just talk about things in life. But I went by there and I said, okay, they have this one JFK cigar. It's monstrous. It is almost like the one that Tony Soprano, if you've ever watched that, Paul's Top 5 had the Sopranos, the big cigar that the Soprano guys, they smoked. This is a monster. I bought one. It's in a tube about this long, and I'm going to give it, I don't care who smokes it. It's not going to be me. It's just too much. But I'm going to take one of those down to Florida and enjoy to see. Probably my younger brother, Philip, will be the one that smokes that cigar. Ashton, Macanudo, my favorite brand is Rocky Patel, Romeo and Julieta, the great names, Cohiba, Padron, 48-foot walk-in humidor, CBD products, Vita Dreams if you want a gummy at night to help you fall asleep easier, and also relaxed and save 30 minutes to an hour of tossing and turning, plus the one that for really bad chronic pain, bad pain, called For Bad Days. It's a THC product. Don Chimador and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center in Waco.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue.
Next in line. It's time for Paul Catalina's Top 5. Brought to you by Texas Beef House. Where's the best beef in Texas? Your house when you order from Texas Beef House. Unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com.
Top 5 observations of Michigan's defense to the Big Ten. Or response, whatever you want to say. Number 5. This was all on Connor Stallions. This was just a guy, a rogue operator.
Who had a Michigan hat on.
Oh, yeah.
Michigan clothing.
That we
Western
paid.
Michigan clothing.
This is all on him. And whatever he did, I mean, if he's just a low-level staffer, it couldn't have affected the game all that much. The assumption that it would is nonsense.
Okay. This is BS because coaches are as paranoid as anybody walking the earth. They would know who he is and what he does.
Yeah, I mean, the low level. He's just a guy. He's an analyst
making $40,000-$50,000 a year with a $15,000 travel budget, but he's just a guy.
Yeah. So this is
going to be the best 30. What is it called? 30 for 30.
Yeah. They're walking out on a limb here with this statement. Now, the rest of what they said holds a lot of water. This part right here, they should have just kind of left out because it sounds to me like you're daring, like, look, prove it was anybody other than Connor Stallions.
Yeah.
Prove it.
You're talking about the 10-page letter.
Yeah.
That they sent back to the conference.
Yeah. Like, this is the part where I'm like, you can say, like, as of now, then it's true. The evidence shows that this was Connor Stallions and the other coaches didn't know about it. Then I would stop at that. But calling him a low-level staffer that not there. Guys, there's pictures of him next to the coaches during the game, whispering in their ears, and the coaches reacting to what he told them.
All right, Garrett, wide shot with folders like this, right?
Yeah.
In his arm, like this.
Yeah. So he didn't just notice something, run up and tell them. He was looking and saw something.
And these are restaurant. It's post-game meals is what they have.
Yeah, that's he's recruiting analyst. That's what he was doing. Number 4. Be careful what you really want to investigate. Now, this is one of those. This is a very Michigan, Ohio State, Texas all can kind of get away with these kind of saying these things because basically they're saying look, if you ask for an investigation to us, fine. But we are going to ask for an investigation into everybody else. And then you're going to see what this really is. And we're going to force you to define what in-person scouting is.
These schools, those schools you mentioned, and we're bringing those others into play, but they dictate what's going to happen.
They're big players.
You're talking about mega powers, and it's very rarely do they ever get put in the crosshairs and get shot.
Here's part of the issue that Michigan has in that they've never really been popped hard. And so the fact that Jim Harbaugh's even getting investigated and you've got Matt Weiss and the computer access, all this stuff coming down on them at once, there's an air about them that why, how dare you?
Yeah.
Investigate us.
Do you not realize what's that when you see Hollywood stars?
Do you know who I am?
Do you not realize who I am? Yeah.
And so that's part of it with Michigan because they've done that. If you're a Big Ten fan, you go back in their history. They've done it every time somebody's brought something up, they are very fast to point out who else is cheating. And and Paxton, calm down. I'm not even looking at the chat room. I'll use the example of Texas in the Southwest Conference. Texas, while I'm sure they were doing everything that everybody else was doing in the Southwest Conference.
Oh,
probably better because they didn't get caught.
But
what I do know about Texas is that whenever somebody's about to get in trouble, Texas, the fire's burning. You guys, you don't have a big enough fire. Here's some gasoline. We're going to pour it on there. That's what they do. Michigan's very similar of when anybody else is in trouble. Like, you don't think that when the Jim Tressel thing was going on that Michigan people were out there like, free tattoos? Oh, my God.
Yeah. No.
Perish the thought.
Yeah, wait a minute.
How could you?
We will circle our wagons, but you don't want us sending out our troops into your neighborhood.
Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah. And I mean, while there is like part of that is bravado and bluster and what Michigan does, part of it's also true. Like sometimes, they're telling the Big Ten, don't ask questions you don't really want the answer to if you're not ready to do something about it.
Yeah.
Number 3, they don't have concrete evidence. This is weird. Yes, there is maybe a reasonable legal assumption that you could say, all right, Connor Stalions is here. He's in-person scouting, but nobody told him to do it. He was doing it on his own, all of that. These people are just taking, we don't know what they're taking pictures of. You just have a video of him pointing at the sideline. He could have been looking at the band or something like that. Those are things they could do, but you also need to be reasonable here in that, yes, you don't have a hardcore smoking gun, but you do have a lot of, and this isn't a criminal trial either, you do have a lot of evidence that kind of points to the fact that something was...
Can they subpoena his phone?
I really can't subpoena anything. They don't have subpoena power.
That's what I'm saying. So you can't go get... Yeah.
Now, you can, if it's a state-issued phone, you can do a freedom of information request.
Yeah, I was wondering,
and you can do that, but those are the things that you have to kind of do. And the other point that you could make, and I think the Big Ten is going to make is, and the NCAA is, look, it doesn't matter if you guys knew about it or not. The point is that he was there in-person scouting, especially that Central Michigan thing is to be very damning when they, when that all gets ironed out, which everybody knows what's going on. But he was there in-person scouting. You are getting in trouble for that because that's against the rules. So that's the simplest part of it. Number 2, there's no precedent. There's nothing that they've ever done. There's nothing in the rule book. There's nothing for this. So anything that the Big Ten would do, and not before the NCAA finishes any kind of investigation, sometime at the turn of the next century, there's nothing in the book that says this. That it's Pierre and I were talking about it on the show earlier. I said this appears to be like an IKEA shelf where there's a key part of information, like, hey, now you're at section 3, the legs, and it just kind of just shows you a picture of what you're supposed to do and doesn't describe how it's going to go. And there's just the sportsmanship clause.
Right.
There's no specifics, which makes it hard for them to say, well, here's what we're going to do to you, Michigan. We're going to suspend Coach Harbaugh. Well, doesn't say you can do that in the rule.
Right.
So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And number 1, Tony Petitti does not have the power to punish them because of this. Because there's no precedent, he's not the one who can go in and do it. It's the NCAA, and they're saying just leave it to them, which ultimately feels to me like what Tony Petitti is going to have to do. And the other coaches are just going to have to stew, which sucks for them, but,
Here's what I think the Big Ten may have done wrong. The SEC would have had Michigan's back. Even if the other teams in the conference, for example, the Cam Newton, Auburn deal.
I don't know if it was reported in the conference before it got to the NCAA.
Yeah,
it would have been handled in the conference.
Yeah,
if they couldn't,
I still think again, are you going to discipline a team in your conference that's about to make you even more money?
Well,
I'm not saying that Ohio State won't make you more money or Penn State, but. Yeah. You're about to take somebody out of the equation because if you take Michigan out, they're not going to. They're not going to forfeit games. They're not going to suspend anybody. They might fine Michigan. Maybe they'll try to do that with Harbaugh and lose, but they're not going to take them out of the equation where they have a chance to have 2 of the 4 teams in the national championship semifinals. That is the best interest of the conference. Just take it, bite, and move on.
Yeah, I think.
No matter if you piss off everybody else.
Look, all Tony Petitti has to do, though, a lot of times is just make a show of it. As long as he made a show of it. And
I think it's too late for them to make a show of it.
Well, that's what he's trying to do.
What are they going to do?
Well, making a show of it.
Fine them $500,000?
Making a show of it is saying he's going to try to punish them, and then he's going to be able to say, look, this is going to get tied up in court anyway. We've just got to let it ride out. Yeah. Because what the coaches want in the Big Ten is they want blood now. but the timetable does not lend itself to that. So he has to tell them, like, hey, listen, I can't give you anything right now.
Yep.
Because it's
based
November.
on bylaws, based on the rule of the conference, there's nothing we can do.
And based on the fact that even if I try to do something and said, well, I do have this in the power, and the other members support me in this, they're still going to take us to court, and I don't know what court in America you can get in for this in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, because Michigan, all Michigan has to do to delay it is just keep filing, here's evidence, and then 3 weeks from now, they can be like, all right, well, we're good. Do whatever you want, because then they're at the point where they need to be, So then it's out of the Big Ten's hands.
All right. Thank you very much. Paxton asked this question. We'll close it out with this, and a lot of people are reacting to that. Is Quinn Ewers out of the Heisman race?
Yes.
Can he win? And my question is, Paxton wants to bet me $20 that Quinn Ewers is going to win the Heisman?
He's about to lose.
Are you going to – is that what you're doing, Paxton? He's missed games. The big win against Kansas State, he had nothing to do with that. He had good numbers against Oklahoma. He also had, whatever you want to think, 19 straight. He threw 2 deadly picks early. They kind of set that thing up for what it was. There's nobody on their schedule the rest of the way, with all due respect to everybody on their schedule the rest of the way, unless maybe the Big 12 championship, that's a national-type game. And here's another thing. He hadn't had that great of a year in the first place. How many quarterbacks right now are in line ahead of him when it comes to discussing the Heisman Trophy besides 5 to 7?
Well, statistically, he's not even in the top 50.
Paxton, you're saying $20 that Quinn Ewers will be in New York at the Heisman Trophy ceremony.
So he's going to get in there over the defending winner, who I know is not going this year, Michael Penix,
J.J.
McCarthy, Bo Nix, Jordan Travis, Dylan Gabriel, who beat him.
Maybe Jaden Daniels.
But he's not even the best option in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Well, Paxton.
Yeah.
I know you're going to text me tonight. I'm blocking you.
But no,
I'm not going to take your $20. I'll take it, but I'm not going to take your being silly.
Overall quarterback statistics, he's ranked 52nd. You can't get him up there.
No, he could throw for 400 yards against TCU, Iowa State, whatever. It's not going to make a difference.
He is just ahead of Alan Bowman and behind Rocco Becht nationally. He's behind.
But is he better than the New York Giants starting quarterback this week?
Yeah, probably.
All right. Garrett, thank you. Jack McKenzie, Emery, Owen, Levi, Sports Tonight, 365 Sports Tonight at 10:30 tonight on the CW. Back at it again tomorrow. Paul has it. Craig and I have a high school game, so does Garrett. Have a great night. I'm David Smoak, 365 Sports, and we love you. Thank you.